Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It is 7 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. It is the 6th day of September. It is a Friday.
Yes, sir.
That's right. And it could not have come any sooner. It actually feels like a Thursday, but it's really a Friday. But we're glad that it is a Friday, and to that end, we have some programming changes to announce. I'll get to that in a few moments. I want to just talk about what I think could be the next big inflection point in this looming election that we have out there. I mean, look, I don't think the numbers are likely to change unless something upsets the apple cart. And the one thing that could happen could be this debate that is now scheduled for next Tuesday. It seems to me that, that this is one of these moments where, people sort of, I think, maybe have their minds made up largely about how they're going to vote. Maybe there's some undecided out there. But, I mean, you know what Donald Trump is. And by now, if you are leaning toward voting for Kamala Harris, then, you have some idea, hopefully, what she stands for, though it's hard to know. So, are numbers likely to move very much? No, unless, and this is the big unless, this is the key moment when I'm trying to tell you, unless something happens at this debate that really is revelatory, one way or the other. So, I mean, there is an awful lot on the line for this coming debate. And, the two sides have been wrangling and wrangling and wrangling. There was that for a while, it looked like Trump didn't want to do it. Then it looked like Kamala didn't want to do it. And then Kamala, she wanted the debate mics to be open all the time. And Trump said, well, I sort of like that idea. But, we all agreed to the last set of rules, which said that they would be off, they'd be muted. So, I guess that's the way I will stay. I want to follow what we agreed to. And finally, after much wailing and gnashing of teeth, Kamala came around and said, well, okay, whatever. Let's just get on with it. So the stage is set. And this big debate is going to be the moment where, if there's anything that rattles the cages, that sort of jiggles the numbers, it could well be this looming debate scheduled for next Tuesday, the 10th day of September. Now, we're going to be having our big event. We'll talk about that in a moment. But how is this likely to go? Trump was asked about this the other day when he was doing the town hall with Sean Hannity, and here's what he had to say.
When I had Biden, you and I had the same discussion, and I let him talk. I'm going to let her talk because, you've all seen it. There are those that say that Biden is smarter than she is, okay? And if that's the case, we have a problem. But, debating's an interesting thing. I've been in many debates. I think I probably won because of debating, maybe. We had a lot of debates with the Republicans. Then we had Crooked Hillary. We had a lot of different people we had to debate. And we had some great debates. You do remember the Rosie O'Donnell debate. Remember Rosie O'Donnell? She's a real great one. Isn't she a great one? Anyway, but a debate is interesting. You can go in with all the strategy you want, but you have to sort of feel it out as the debate's taking place. I've seen it. You go in there and you have a strategy. Mike Tyson made the statement, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. It's true.
By the way, I love that, and it's true. You go in with a plan, but you have to be ready for whatever happens.
It was a brilliant statement. It's a brilliant statement. So I can tell Sean exactly what I'm going to do, but, things change. It depends a lot on ABC. Will they be fair or not? If they're not going to be fair, I'm going to be a little bit different than if they are. I hope they're going to be fair. We're putting a lot of reliance on a network which is known for being extremely hostile to the people in this room and to, I think, 75-80% of the country, if you want to really know the truth.
So he says, look, my thought is initially I'm going to let her talk. And look, I think the reason that Kamala Harris wanted to have those mics unmuted was that she was going to try to goad him. Try to, to insult him, to get his ire up and have him, sort of come after her. Sort of a rope-a-dope thing. And so that's not going to happen now. I think if he needs to be really disciplined about one thing, and that is not jumping in, and letting each person have their say, because it will be looked at as impolite. And she really was very effective against Mike Pence, by the way, by saying, "Excuse me, I'm speaking now. Excuse me, I'm speaking now." She did that like 4 or 5 times during the course of the debate. It was very effective. I think maybe that's what she was hoping, that he would interrupt her and she could do that again, one way or the other. I think Trump, his strategy sounds good. By the way, I like the way Trump is coming across in the last few days. He's a little more low key, still exhibiting, the Trump sense of humor and having fun. But not being the bombastic Trump that we sometimes see, and pulling in his horn. I mean, I always thought it was a minor fix. It wasn't a big fix, but he's sort of pulling it in just a little, not being quite as much out there as he has been in the past at times. So I like it. I think this is exactly right. He sounds reasonable. He sounds rational, and he sounds like somebody you'd want to sit down and have a chat with. What's the old saying? Who do you vote for president? The person you most likely would like to sit down with and drink a beer. And I know he doesn't drink, but I would sit down and drink a beer or a Diet Coke with Donald Trump. So I think it's interesting. A couple of stories very quickly. Harris wanted an open debate mic to interrupt Trump. Now she's forced to adjust. This is from Politico. This is, of course, probably leans a little in the direction of Harris. Even as the Harris campaign looks to reorient their candidate to debate rules agreed to when Biden was the nominee, there's ongoing frustration among many of her aides that the vice president is inheriting them, according to one person familiar with the Harris team's thinking. That's because they view her as a stronger debater than Biden, whose debacle on stage in June ultimately led to his withdrawal from the race. It was a bad set of rules for someone who needed to be protected, who never should have been on the debate stage, the National Democrat strategist added, and now they are stuck with it. In many ways, Harris has benefited from Biden's political inheritance, largely undefined herself. The vice president has mostly adopted the administration's record and legislative achievements. I don't know what those are, as her own, anointed as the Democrat nominee in late July, and she was anointed. She took over the president's sprawling campaign, a turnkey operation that quickly adjusted to the new candidate. So there you go. Brian Fallon, Harris's senior communication advisor who led the campaign's negotiations with ABC News about the debate rules, informed the network in a letter Wednesday that the vice president would begrudgingly accept the original rules, including the muted microphones, which he said fundamentally disadvantaged the former prosecutor. I don't know how, but okay, so there you have it. I don't know. I don't know what their strategy was for wanting the mics to be open and hot all the time. I just don't know. But one way or the other, we know now what the rules are going to be. They're going to be exactly what they were for the first debate with Joe Biden. And they will stand. They won't sit. There will be no notes. And the microphones will be muted when it's not your turn to speak. Those are the basic outlined rules, okay? So there you have it. Now, I think every once in a while, you get a little insight. And this is something that, I bet not many people would pick up on it. But Kamala Harris is not very good on the fly. She is not very good. We know this. She talks in circles. She talks in word salad. And she's unburdened by the past, apparently. We know that. But she is not good answering questions without having notes, or if she does make herself available, she has prepped endlessly for a very softball interview that she did with CNN. And they don't ever put her in many places where she can, be put in a position where she's asked something she's not prepared for. She did an interview with Univision, we call it, and it is it's very telling. I want you to listen a little bit to this and listen closely for a sound, this sound right here. You got it? Okay, listen for that sound. Now, in context, you'll know what it is. Here is Kamala being interviewed by Univision.
Who may be on the fence about which way to vote on November 5th.
Listen, I think that it's time to move forward and to chart a new way forward. And we need to turn the page on this Trump era.
You see, did you catch it? It was right there in the middle as she started to answer the question. I'm going to play it for you one more time.
On November 5th.
Listen, I think that it's time to move.
There it is. There it is.
Forward and to chart a new way forward. And we need to turn the page on this Trump era.
Well, in fact, what that was her turning the page in her briefing book. It's very clear that's the sound of somebody turning the page. I'm gonna isolate it for you one more time. That is her, literally, as she says, we need to turn the page. She's turning the page to find the answer in her briefing book. She can't even do a short radio interview with Univision without having her briefing book there. I mean, but don't you agree that's what this is?
Listen, I think that it's time to move forward and to chart a new way forward. And we need to turn the page on.
And it's the same thing she says every time. So it seems like she had that memorized.
I know, but you can tell that that her staff people are worried to death, and she is insecure about having to answer questions on the fly. So she doesn't even sit down for an interview without a briefing book. Now, I mean, this is not much of an interview, but again, she has her little answers there. And when it comes, she has to turn the page to find out what the answer is. And so it's literally, she's saying, we need to turn the page. She is turning the page. and I think this speaks volumes to her because, she's very insecure on the fly. We've seen this demonstrated time and time again with all of the babble that she puts out there, and I just think that this is very indicative of who she really is. Someone who is really not up to the task of doing a debate. So I think it's going to be very interesting to watch Kamala Harris because she won't be able to have a briefing book out there on the debate stage.
Forward and to chart a new way forward. And we need to turn the page. Yeah,
she needs to turn the page. So she has the answer. It's 20 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Got a double fatality crash under investigation in Wilson County, and Lebanon police say Highway 109 is down to one lane each direction because of it between Academy Road and Lebanon Road. Could be that way for an extended period of time. We had another shooting at another of our nation's high schools today. Details at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
There he is, that's Ken Weaver. You know him, you love him, you can't live without him. In the newsroom, making sure that all of our headlines are covered. And there behind the glass, pushing the blinky buttons as he does each day, keeping things under control. Yeah, he's Chris Webber, and we're glad to have him there as well. Guys, beautiful day. Woo. We get 87 degrees again, pretty reasonable.
Yes.
Not near as hot as it could be. Listen, I want to mention that we're going to be doing this debate party over at Scoreboard Cedar Creek in Mount Juliet. And it will start at 3 o'clock on Tuesday with The Drive, and then the guys will mosey in when the guys mosey in. I don't know. Sometimes they come in at 3, sometimes they come in at 4 or 5, sometimes they show up at 6, whatever. But Dan, Chris, Matt, and I will then carry on through the evening until it's time for the debate. And then, it's going to be, as I mentioned before, I think a moment of a real inflection point in this election. So what better way to watch it than and a good place where you can get an adult beverage with people who see the world the way you do. So I hope you'll join us over there. Details at 997WTN.com. Hope to see you there. All right. Now, today, guys, I spent time with my favorite human being, my Cabana wife. We went and ran a bunch of errands today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I don't know. No, it's fine. Everything was pretty easy until, I get sucked up into her crazy sometimes because she has this vision. As you know, last year, we debuted in our front yard during the month of October a 12-foot tall skeleton. You may have seen them down at the Home Depot or the Lowe's or whatever. Yeah, I mean, they're big, massive things, and I loved it. So she came up with this idea that it needed to have a Watertown High School Purple Tigers jersey on it.
Yeah.
Because we're in Watertown, she thought, well, we'll put a jersey on the skeleton. And I'm going, it's a 12-foot tall skeleton.
It's a big jersey.
So we had to go in search of a big purple jersey today. And we found the company that actually provides the jersey for Watertown High School. We tracked them down. Actually, you gave me, somebody texted in, and you gave me the information. We went to see that guy today. And we came in with the skeleton's measurements, and we think that if we get a 4X jersey, and then we may have to take it apart and put some side panels in it to make it fit, but she's prepared to do all that.
Yeah,
we will have a purple jersey on our skeleton this year. So nice. that was our day. Yeah. So
Very cool.
Again. And it's really interesting. I found a really lovely Watertown Tigers sweatshirt that I'm going to wear whenever we go to the next game. And then so I was ready to check out, and then I got stuck for the cost of the jersey as well. Okay, but thank you, honey. Okay, we have a lot of fun. She is, I've mentioned before, a dental hygienist, and she works at an office of practice in Franklin, and I go over there, of course, to get my teeth cleaned, and now I'm going to have a couple of crowns. Do that, later this month.
That's fun.
So I was asked after my visit to write a Google review. How was your experience at the dentist office?
Yeah.
And so I wrote the following. You ready? A great experience. I look forward to returning next month for my crowns. Not really, but I will. I was particularly impressed with my hygienist, Dawn Wilson.
Yeah.
She was polite and professional, which is very different from the way she acts at home. and so they wrote me back. Okay, well, we'll see you next month, Brian. And so Dawn does not know this, of course, and she's probably,
I bet she will soon.
She's not listening, so she'll never find out. But I don't know what she's doing right now.
That's what you think.
She's not listening.
She's not listening right now. Well, I mean, if you get a text message in the next few seconds, she's listening.
Yep. Yep.
But I don't. But I thought that. Well, I thought it was pretty clever.
That was pretty good. Yeah.
She's not that way at home.
She's not that way at home at all. All right, a quick programming announcement before we move on for the news, and that is, this is Friday, and so we do Phone Your Farb Friday, and traditionally it has been done at 4:35 and 5:35. But because we now have the hugely successful Three Amigos at 5:35, Phone Your Farb Friday, slight adjustment, it will be at 3:35. So right after the news, we're going to get right into our first Phone Your Farb. I mean, I know. Phone Your Farb Friday, that'll be at 35 minutes after the hour, 3 o'clock roughly. And then we'll do the second one at 4:35, and then 5:35 will be the standard. We're not going to move it ever. This is where it's going to be.
That's it.
The hugely successful Three Amigos segment, okay?
All right. Well, get your thoughts together, I guess, right?
Yeah, get your thoughts together earlier than you normally do.
The pressure's on.
The pressure is on because Phone Your Farb Friday is right after the news. It's 3:30 on Super Talk.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories and repeating some of the traffic problems we've got going on right now in West Nashville. You got Charlotte Pike just east of White Bridge Pike. Then 24 eastbound at Murfreesboro Pike, exit 52. You got the shoulder block there in South Nashville. And, of course, in Wilson County, Lebanon police say Highway 109 is down to one lane each direction while the Highway Patrol investigates that double fatality crash. It's between Academy Road and Lebanon Road. Then a reminder for drivers this weekend in Nashville, the westbound lanes of the East Loop downtown going to be closed from 40 to 65 all weekend, starting tonight for resurfacing. So starting tonight at 8 o'clock, drivers are going to be detoured to the West Loop to get around that resurfacing. Got the full forecast and traffic coming up in 4 minutes. Had a shooting at another high school. Hartford County, Maryland Sheriff Jeff Goller telling us.
The victim in this shooting is a 15-year-old male who is in serious condition, last we heard.
Yeah. Sheriff says it was not an active shooter situation there in Hartford County, Maryland, but the student shot by another student in the boys' bathroom, the other student in custody. Stephen Portnoy says a 3-judge appeals court panel in New York sounded skeptical of former President Trump's argument today that certain evidence and testimony was wrongly considered at the E. Jean Carroll defamation trial.
Flanked by his attorneys in the lobby of Trump Tower, the former president repeated his denials.
Never touched her, never had anything to do with her.
It's statements like that resulted in a $5 million reward for E. Jean Carroll. As Trump spoke to reporters, he also said this.
I'm disappointed in my legal talent, I'll be honest with you.
Trump said his attorney should have noted a dispute at the trial over DNA evidence on a dress.
I said, why didn't you mention that?
Now, the judges did not say when they would rule on Trump's appeal for a new trial there in the E. Jean Carroll case. Meanwhile, the New York judge overseeing Trump's hush money case has decided to wait until after the election to decide questions of presidential immunity. That's the latest news, traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Fall season is more than just pumpkin spice lattes and pretty leaves. It's time to save money with the folks over at Busy Bee. They have some great offers going on during this month. If you have plumbing, heating, and cooling needs, remember, Busy Bee is your Rude Pro partner. National Grandparents' Day is September 8th, so they're celebrating all month by extending a free Beehive membership to grandparents of current Beehive members. Now, you must currently have a Beehive membership already to qualify for a free Beehive membership to gift one set of grandparents. Limit one free membership per family. You must be in the Busy Bee service area the grandparent does. As a Beehive member, you'll receive 3 annual tune-ups, 1 cooling, 1 heating, 1 plumbing, 10% discount on all repairs, priority front-of-the-line service, $100 annual accrued replacement credit, and no overtime or holiday fees, all for a beginning fee of only $99 a month in most cases. That's the best way to keep your system in tip-top shape all year long. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee, HVAC, your Rude Pro partner, 615-775-7833, or visit busybeehvac.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It is 38 minutes now past the hour, 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. And that, as I mentioned before, we're making a change. They're going to be, the Fone URFARB Friday will now be at 3:35 and at 4:35, so we can have the Three Amigos at its standard place, which is 5:35. So it's time once again to do a little thing we call Fone URFARB Friday. (615-737-9986). That's the number. You know the drill. Maybe you got a burr under your saddle. Maybe you got a bee in your bonnet. Maybe you have a bug in a very unpleasant place. And that's right. And well, just climb up on our 100,000-watt soapbox and express yourself within boundaries, because it is a family show, within reason. 615-737-9986. Got one phone line open right now, but as we go through some of these calls, and we got lots of time to talk today, we'll have some phone lines that come open. 615-737-9986. Start with Deborah in Franklin. Deborah, you're on with Brian on the drive.
Hey, guys. Happy Friday.
Thank you.
Question for you. Jack Smith re-indicting Trump. Can you tell me why this would not be a case of double jeopardy?
Well, as I understand it, you can be they took down the last indictment after the Supreme Court came up with a ruling about immunity. So, the case had not gone forward. So he hasn't been tried. So when the Supreme Court came out with its ruling on immunity, he said, well, clearly I need to drop this. And so we didn't know whether or not he was going to come back and try to re-indict. So, but they did decide to re-indict. And I don't think there's going to be much to it. I think it's a pretty weak case. But, double jeopardy means you can't be tried twice. Doesn't mean you can't be indicted twice. So I think that's the difference, Deborah. Does that answer your question?
That does, and that makes sense. For some reason, I thought the case had been kind of heard and tossed out because of the way the Supreme Court ruled. And so it sounded to me almost like they were coming back with the same charges. And
no,
so,
they have changed the charges. That's my understanding, and if I'm wrong on that, I'll get back to you. But that's my memory of it. Okay, Lowell in Nashville, you're on with Brian on the drive. Hello, Lowell. What's on your mind today?
Hey, buddy. I just wanted to share an experience I had. So I'm 27. And I've recently started getting into politics because, as you know, it controls a lot of the aspects of our lives.
Yep.
And so today, while I was working, I was at this client's house, and they were talking politics, bad-mouthing Trump and everything. And normally I try to avoid politics at work, but I was really curious, and I had a conversation with the lady, and I was like, so, I haven't really had a conversation with anybody on the left here. If you don't mind talking to me, and, we talked, and just the...
Was it a polite conversation?
It was, at times, for most of it. There was times where she got elevated, and, there was times where, I'm not even going to lie, I just, the sheer... just not wanting to look further. So the main thing that got to me was toward the end of this conversation, this lady had told me, she was like, look, so you're pretty young, and, you got a long life ahead of you. I really think you should look into, some more of the policies and everything. So, you seem kind of right-winged over here. So my suggestion was to look at, like MSNBC and, get the other side of the news. And I said, ma'am, as much as I appreciate your input there, I do try to take input from all sides of everything. And, my recommendation to you is, maybe looking over at Fox and some other sources. And she was like, oh, I absolutely, I do. I said, okay, so then what about some Googling, doing some self-research? Because you seem very well versed on what you're talking about to an extent. And what I mean by that is every time I went to talk to her about anything, so I was like, I mentioned the fracking, how she backtracked on the fracking. She's like, oh, well, I'm not very familiar with this conversation.
Well, there you go. See,
to be honest, I don't even know what fracking is. So everything I challenged her to debuttal me with, it was, I don't know about that topic.
So she has her mind made up, but she's, they're not hearing this on the other side.
Absolutely.
They're just not hearing it. And this is maddening, isn't it, Lowell? It really is, because what I'm hearing here is, and what I've long suspected is, people on the left, when you ask them what is her policy, you have a hard time getting an answer. And when you ask them, well, why did she backtrack on this and why did she backtrack on that? You get an answer like you got. Oh, I'm not really familiar with fracking. That doesn't impact my life at all, but it does, quite frankly, impact your life, because everything, cheap energy really empowers an economy to get back on its tippy toes and do what it's supposed to do, because everything, if you have high energy cost, everything costs more. And it can really drag down an economy. But she's never heard it, because the sources of information she's listening to are not talking about these things. This is the silo situation you're talking. Well, I salute you for engaging with the woman in conversation. We all need to be very polite if we have these conversations. No sense getting into a fight with somebody just because, when you get into a fight, everybody gets defensive and nobody learns anything. But a good, polite conversation, I think those are in order for our side. Don't be afraid to do it. Scott in Hendersonville, you're on with Brian on the Drive. What's on your mind today, Scott?
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. I know this subject has kind of been beat to death about the attempted assassination in Butler, Pennsylvania. But I've got a question about it. I didn't know if you had heard any information. So the whole transgression lasted about 15 seconds. He fired 8 shots. I've listened to it. I kind of took a deep dive into it. And the 8 shots took about 3 to 4 seconds. And then at about the 15-second mark, the Secret Service guy took him out. I'm just trying to figure out why the guy stopped shooting.
I don't
know that there... Well, I don't know there's an 8-round magazine for an AK style or AR style
I don't
weapon.
know. Here's what I do know is I know that there were 8 shots fired in a very short order, and you can hear it if you find the right tape. And then apparently there were 2 shots back in the direction of the shooter. One was from the local sniper, and as I understand it from my reading of it, he missed. And then there was a second shot, and that one was from the Secret Service sniper, and he neutralized the subject. I don't know, maybe it was that first shot that made him stop. I don't know. But you remember, maybe there was not much of a target to shoot at because Trump dropped pretty quick. So maybe that's one of the reasons why he stopped. I don't know, but those are my understandings of how the thing went down. Thank you for the call, Scott. Brent in Spring Hill, you're on with Brian on the Drive. What do you say, Brent?
Hey, Mr. Wilson, I know you are the sort of resident poll expert on
I don't know about that. Go ahead.
But yeah, and you kind of documented sort of the surge she had that seems to be fading a little bit.
I agree.
Yeah, and being down, I think maybe 2 in Real Clear and 3 and 538, that puts us in a really good position. I know you don't want us to be complacent, but I think Hillary and Biden were up 6 and 7 at this point.
You're correct, and I have talked about this on the show. You might have missed it. I know it's impossible to listen to all 4 hours of this excellent radio program, but I have talked about that. Yeah, I mean, when you compare to what happened in 2020 and in 2016, I mean, Biden was ahead by 9 and barely won. Clinton was ahead at this point about 6. And did not win. So, the thing is that what we have found is that the pollsters tend to underestimate Trump's strength, and it's really hard to figure out why that is. Maybe they're not polling enough Republicans. I think it really has to do with the fact that people on our side of the equation, they're not truthful sometimes with pollsters. And I think there's this thing, a lot of people say, well, I'm going to vote for Trump, but I don't want to say I'm going to vote for Trump. I don't know. I think there is some of that out there. One way or the other, yeah, I'm not panicked yet. But here's the thing we don't know. And that is the pollsters have realized that, that they have been underestimating Trump, and they've been trying to figure out how to solve that problem because they don't want to be wrong. They want to be more accurate. And so they've been working on their models and on their weighting of the data. And to make up for that, what we have seen in several, election cycles. And so did they get it right? I mean, so are the numbers, because they've adjusted their samples, because they've adjusted their polling strategies? Are these polls that we're seeing now more accurate than they've been in the past? Or are they also, again, underestimating Trump? That's the thing that's unknowable. But I'm not panicked just yet. I mean, it is tightened. There's no doubt about it. And we're going to talk about that here in just a bit. Thank you for the call, Brent. I appreciate it. Matt in Fairview, you're on with Brian on the Drive. What's going on?
All right, bud. I will let you take credit for this. But to solve the problem out in Aurora, Colorado, and to get them to recognize the problem there, my man Trump needs to have a rally out there, and that way it'll be recognized, and the damn government with Secret Service something, they'll have to clean it up. I think it's a great idea, and I'll let you take credit for it.
Well, listen, I'm telling you, the situation in Aurora, Colorado is I mean, that's scary stuff, isn't it? And I recently had conversation. Somebody used to live in Aurora, and actually used to live not far from where all this is happening. And I cannot believe that they haven't gone in there with some kind of serious, SWAT team. Police military force to try to bring order to that, because the people in those apartment complexes deserve to have security and not be ruled by a bunch of thugs. So, what is Aurora doing? As far as I can tell, not much. And so then do you turn to the governor and say, Governor, can you do something? I don't know, but it is very troubling. It is very troubling. Let's get to Betty in Hendersonville. Betty, you're on with Brian on the Drive.
Well, happy Friday, Farb.
Hey, what's going on, Betty?
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm disgusted. The number one duty of government is to protect the citizens, right?
Right.
And lately we have nothing but glaring examples of extreme dereliction of duty. We have the whole mess of the attempted assassination of President Trump. And then we have the FBI, whose stated mission is, number one, combating transnational criminal enterprise.
Right.
I think the issues in Aurora, Colorado would fall into that category.
You would think.
And then we have the horrific shooting at the Appalachia High School and their other stated mission, combating significant violent crime. I think that would fall in that category. And they had tips and information about this, and they dropped the ball. In every case, they have dropped the ball. So I will let you add your thoughts and comments.
Other than to say I greatly agree with your assessment. The FBI, I think there are some good people on the front lines. I don't know what's happened to the FBI. I don't know what's happened to the Secret Service. But I don't recognize these agencies as the ones that I have witnessed up close and personal in past years. So something's going on. My suspicion is it's DEI, and it's weakening these fine organizations quite a bit. But I don't know. I'm like you. I'm baffled. Why can't we count on the FBI? Why can't we count on the Secret Service? 52 past the hour.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
All right now in Wilson County, that double fatality crash investigation has Highway 109 shut down both directions between Academy Road and Lebanon Road. This according to TDOT Smartway. Highway 109 shut down both directions there between Academy Road and Lebanon Road for a double fatality crash investigation. And there's been a few new developments in the legal issues former President Trump faces coming up at 4 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, let's take a look at the markets today and see how they ended the day. Actually, there's a lot of red on the table today. Dow Jones Industrials down 1%, 410 points. S&P down about 1.75%. That's 94 points. NASDAQ down 2.5%. That's 436 points. So nothing but red. Not a particularly good week for the major indices. What's going on? Let's check in with John Maxon over at Beacon Capital Management for more on that. Hello, John.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Yeah, the NASDAQ and S&P just finished their worst week of the year, in fact. It's usually pretty rough, a little bit seasonally weak in September, but today Wall Street was really looking for the jobs report. That's been talked about a lot, and unfortunately that disappointed the market. Really, the economy last month added 142,000 jobs. The expectation was 165. And then last month's jobs numbers were also revised down. So the concern is that the economy is actually weakening more than what we're being told or what we're being led to believe. Now the Fed is believed to have potentially a higher rate decrease in September, but the concern is about the strength of the economy. Get another inflation report next week. I'm going to be watching that really close, but a bad jobs number today.
All right. Thank you very much, John. Find out about all the things that John Maxon and the good people at Beacon Capital Management can do to help you get ready for your retirement. Just go to the website, askbeaconnow.com. 59 past the hour. Hey, Grace Point Healthcare, we talk about them all the time. You know they're affordable. You know that they're comprehensive in the way they approach medicine, and they are convenient. Those are three things that you want, really, honestly. That you want medicine delivered the old-fashioned way. So, listen, a couple of things they want you to know about. There are some this is the time of year where kids start to play sports, and a lot of them need sports physicals. Grace Point provides complete physicals for kids of all ages. If you're going out of a country and you need to get vaccinations, Grace Point offers complete travel immunizations and is CDC certified for yellow fever and all other international immunization protocols. And because they will see you the same day or the next day in some cases, you don't have to wait days or weeks to see a doctor. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? Being able to see the doc when you need to see the doc. That's modern medicine at your convenience. Located on Main Street in Franklin, here's the number, 615-599-6868 to set up your first appointment.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and right now in Wilson County, TDOT Smartway is showing Highway 109 shut down both directions between Academy Road and Lebanon Road. This is for a double fatality crash investigation. Highway Patrol there on the scene. Got a reminder for drivers this weekend in downtown Nashville. The westbound lanes of the East Loop downtown will be closed from 40 to 65 all weekend, starting tonight for resurfacing. Mayor Freddie O'Connell telling Channel 4 the work is needed.
We're going to try to have as many advisories. This is a TDOT project. My hope is that on the other side of it, Nashvillians and anybody passing through will be very relieved at the resurfacing, because that is a stretch that has had quite a bit of potholes.
A lot of potholes. Drivers are going to be detoured to the West Loop to get around the work starting tonight at 8 o'clock. Got the full forecast and traffic in 4 minutes. Have a shooting at another high school in this country today.
Victim in this case did not survive the shooting.
That's Hartford County, Maryland Sheriff Jeff Goller, who says it wasn't an active shooter situation. It was an altercation in the boys' bathroom where a 15-year-old was shot and has died. The other student is in custody. There's been a couple of new developments in former President Trump's legal issues. Oral arguments took place this morning in an appeal of the federal defamation verdict in favor of a writer who claims Donald Trump sexually assaulted her at a Fifth Avenue department store back in the 90s. Stephen Portnoy says the three-judge panel sounded skeptical of Trump's argument that certain evidence and testimony was wrongly considered at trial.
Flanked by his attorneys in the lobby of Trump Tower, the former president repeated his denials.
Never touched her, never had anything to do with her.
It's statements like that resulted in a $5 million reward for E. Jean Carroll. As Trump spoke to reporters, he also said this.
I'm disappointed in my legal talent, I'll be honest with you.
Trump said his attorney should have noted a dispute at the trial over DNA evidence on a dress.
I said, why didn't you mention that?
And the New York judge overseeing Trump's hush money case is going to wait until after the election to decide questions of presidential immunity. Judge Juan Merchan says he will decide a week after Election Day, and if he does not dismiss the charges then, he'll move to sentence Trump on the 34 felony counts 2 days before Thanksgiving, November 26th. An election 2024 update, early voting delayed in North Carolina. Christiane Quarter says it's over a legal dispute.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. wants his name off North Carolina's ballot since he dropped out of the presidential race and endorsed former President Donald Trump. This week, Kennedy sued the state's Board of Elections. A judge ruled against him, citing the cost and effort required to reprint the ballots and the state-mandated deadline. That put the ballots on track to be mailed out today, but Kennedy's appeal has put that decision on hold.
Yeah, Kennedy also won an appeal to remove his name from the presidential ballot in Michigan today. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Hour number 2 of The Drive on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson. This is hour number 2 of The Drive on a Friday. We got a good show going here today. And reminder that we're going to be doing another round of Fone URFARB Friday at 4:35. And, of course, at 5:35, you don't want to miss the new exciting Three Amigos segment, which has become much listening. It's a must-listen radio. You know, they used to say must-see TV. This is must-listen radio. So there you go. Look, where we want to go, I think we'll start with our election 2024 update. There it is. The music comes in as if on purpose. We've got a lot of ground to cover here. Again, rather than get into specific numbers, I'm going to do this thing a little differently, if you don't mind. Here we go. Trump and Harris locked in statistical dead heat ahead of pivotal debate. Now, this is from thehill.com. They have a thing called the Decision Desk HQ, which shows they believe that Harris has a 55% probability of winning the election, but basically suggests the contest is essentially a jump ball. Could go either way, with 7 states being fought for by both campaigns, and I think they're giving a slight edge to Harris. Then if you look at like Nate Silver's model, he says Trump has a 60% chance of winning. So Decision Desk, Harris a 55% probability. Nate Silver says a 60% chance of Trump winning. But really, honestly, there isn't much difference in these two analyses. It's one gives it slightly to Harris, one gives it slightly to Trump, and it is pretty tight. Again, you have to wonder, and the thing that I talked about during our Fone URFARB segment a little while ago was, we really don't know whether pollsters have solved this problem of underestimating Trump's strength. I mean, they have missed it the last 2 elections. And that's not like by design. That is, they don't want to be wrong. They want to be right. And but they haven't been right in some places with Trump, and they're trying to figure out why that is. Have they solved that problem? They keep making adjustments to their strategy, to their polling, strategies and their polling data, and they keep trying to change the read. So I don't know. I think it probably is still. I like Nate Silver's assessment more than I like the Hill's. I think they probably still haven't figured it out. And I think that's because I think our side doesn't really talk. And, again, it's very easy to poll people in a metropolitan area. And when you're talking about general election numbers, metropolitan areas are easier to reach, and metropolitan areas are generally more likely to be blue than red. It is more difficult to poll in the outerlands, in the so-called flyover country. And so I think that might be part of it as well. One way or the other, I call it as pretty close, and we'll see how it all plays out. I love this story. Believe it or not, this story I found on CNN, and it has to do with an ad that Kamala Harris is running, talking about how she's going to I can't say it with a straight face. She's going to be tougher on the border. You're right. And what's really amazing is that she's running an ad that features the Trump wall along the border. And it's unbelievable. She is, if you saw this, you would think that the Trump wall was her idea. CNN talked about this.
In a new report, you'll see first out front, the K-File team scoured Kamala Harris's tweets and statements going all the way back to 2017. And what they found was more than 50 instances of Harris slamming Trump's border wall. But now, new Harris campaign ads actually showcase that very wall.
As a border state prosecutor, she took on drug cartels and jailed gang members for smuggling weapons and drugs across the border.
And on top of critical tweets, Harris also wrote in her 2019 book, quote, "There was a bigger reason to oppose the border wall. A useless wall on the southern border would be nothing more than a symbol, a monument standing in opposition to not just everything I value, but to the fundamental values upon which this country was built. How could I vote to build what would be little more than a monument designed to send the cold, hard message, keep out?" Andrew Kaczynski joins me now. So, Andrew, I mean, you all have gone through, scoured an incredible amount of material. Tell me more about what you found.
Yeah, that's right. We found more than 50 of those tweets criticizing the border wall before she used that in her ad. And I want people to take a look at just a few of what she said here. She called it wasteful, useless, a waste of taxpayer money, a vanity wall project, a wasteful border wall, a stupid wall, a medieval vanity project, and an unnecessary wall. And those are really just, there were more of those, just like 10 or like 50. But there was really a lot of this was the common refrain during the campaign. You read that quote where she said it was against everything that not only she stood for, everything America stood for, and she brought this up a lot. Take a listen to just one instance of that in 2019.
It's the president's vanity project.
His multi-billion-dollar vanity project called a wall is nothing more than a distraction from the fact that he actually hasn't focused on working people in America. He contrived a national crisis around his big distraction.
All right, so you go through all of that, you've got all the tweets, and yet all of a sudden in the ads, there's pictures of the wall, and then you went through to look at that wall. Yeah. Like, what is that specific wall that's in her campaign ads now? And you found something very interesting about this specific portion of the wall.
And I think what's also really remarkable about this is, you heard her talking about it there, Trump's wall in his campaign during his presidency. There was really no greater symbol of Trump's presidency than the wall, and the way that Democrats were attacking him over the wall and his restrictive immigration policies. So we looked in that ad, and if you look at it, that exact area of wall is in Sasabe, Arizona, and that is a portion of wall that was actually built by Donald Trump. It was built in an area where there was not previous wall. It was actually pretty controversial when they were building it at the time. So just to see that, and then there are other.
She's using his wall that he built to say, "Look at what I did." Basically,
and the other images of the wall, we weren't able to pinpoint, but there's telltale signs that was a Trump wall, because there's an anti-climbing plate on top that became popularized during the Trump years.
So, this is on CNN. CNN now pointing out the hypocrisy of this ad that's running all over the place, where Kamala Harris talks about how she's going to be tough on the border while showing you pictures of Trump's wall, a wall that she criticized time and time and time and time again. I hope that the other side starts to figure out that she's changing her position on everything. She's flip-flopping on everything. Plastic straws, apparently, is the latest thing. She's now flip-flopping on plastic straws. Said, well, I was against plastic straws, but now I don't feel so strongly about it. How many times does she get to do this? Well, at least, look, I have my criticisms of CNN, but here in at least this one instance, they're pointing out to their viewers, as few as they may be, that indeed Kamala Harris is not being consistent. She is flip-flopping her positions. Charlie Gasparino does a commentary over on Fox Business. And he says that, you know what, I think these debates are not going to go well for Kamala Harris because she doesn't really understand economic policy.
You know, you get the feeling she doesn't understand these basic issues. When you listen to Donald Trump, you know, love him or hate him, you might hate his Twitter feed, you might hate some of the things he's done and said in the past. He does have a grasp of these basic economic issues that impact average Americans. He articulates those. He talks about, I mean, I don't agree with all his tariff policies, but he explained, you know, what he's going to do with tariffs, how he's going to try to create a fairer trade environment. But he said it in very detailed ways. You know, if Kamala Harris doesn't provide those details, you almost have to assume she doesn't understand the details. And if you're in the voting booth and you know that we have a looming possible recession, we still have very high prices. He laid out exactly how high prices are now compared to where they were when he was president. There's a lot at stake on top of, you know, global conflict and other things. You know, energy prices, how to get those down, dramatically down. They're still too high. You know, he provides detail. She doesn't. If you're in the voting booth, I think at some point the American people are going to say, if she doesn't deliver on something, they're going to say, what am I voting for? I mean, even if you like her, you might like her better than Donald Trump, but does she know anything? This is a conversation I keep having with Mark Cuban, by the way, the tech billionaire, and he can't really explain to me what she stands for. He says it's a work in progress, and I can't expect her to essentially know anything now, because she just got the nomination. Yeah, well, she should have the basic understanding of basic economics by now. Certainly, any adult should have that. But one way or the other, she apparently does not. Couple of quick things. Florida, the Senate race there between Rick Scott and Debbie Marcasel Powell, according to a poll that came out today from the Hill and Emerson College, is pretty close. And Scott leads, the Republican, leads the Democrat by 1 point in Florida. Now, I don't think that's right. The margin of error is 3.4%, so it could be way off. But I've seen this before. Again, I don't think that the pollsters have a good fix on Western Florida, the Panhandle of Florida. If you get through the Eastern Time polling close and those numbers start to come in, and everything's looking fairly even, you don't need to worry, because the western part of the state is very conservative and will vote very conservative. One way or the other, I have a hard time believing that the race is really that tight in ruby red Florida. And there's another poll out there that shows that Ted Cruz is in a very tight race with his Democrat opponent, and I don't believe that at all. Again, you probably are over counting the people who live in places like Houston and Austin and Dallas. And I think you're undercounting the people that live in the rest of the state. I've seen this happen before. Everybody says, it's going to be purple, it's going to be blue, this is the year. And it never emerges. But again, if you look at some of these polls, they're tight. I have a hard time believing those particular polls. 21 past the hour.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Had another deadly shooting at a high school today, and right now in Wilson County, TDOT Smartway is showing both directions of Highway 109 still shut down between Academy Road and Lebanon Road for a double fatality crash investigation. We've got details on these stories and more at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
25 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Again, we are following up with details on that school shooting in Georgia the other day. Well, what is being painted is a very sad picture. The 14-year-old shooter was in court today and stood before Judge Curry Mingledorf.
You are under 18 years old, so I wanted to inform you and make it clear to you that the penalty for the crimes for which you are charged does not include death. It includes life without the possibility of parole. I also wanted to inform you that the court has set December 4th at 8:30 a.m. For your preliminary hearing.
His dad has also been charged in this matter because he gave his troubled son, apparently shortly after the FBI went to him and said, we have some concerns about your kid and that he may have made some threats against the local school. We have some real concerns about him. And they said, oh, no, there's no problem here. Shortly after that time, when he was told, well, keep an eye on your kid, and they told the schools, you need to make sure that you're watching this kid. They put everybody on alert. Shortly after that, apparently, the father gifted an AR-15 to his 14-year-old son. So he's now facing charges as well. Listen to this. This is from the New York Post. Colt Gray, the baby-faced Georgia school shooting suspect who is charged with murdering 2 classmates and 2 teachers, grew up in a broken and neglectful home which police and child services visited on a regular basis, a former neighbor and landlord tell the Post. His mother, Marcy, 43, has a lengthy rap sheet with drug and domestic violence arrests. His father, Colin, 54, allegedly bought his troubled son an AR-15 rifle for Christmas and now faces charges of his own for supplying the weapon used in the shooting. According to a person who lived next door, Lauren Vickers, who lived next door to the Grays in Jefferson, Georgia, said there were problems immediately when the Grays and their 3 children moved into the well-manicured neighborhood 60 miles east of Atlanta in 2022. There were nights where the mom would lock him and his sister out of the house, and they would be banging on the back door, just screaming like, Mom, 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 and crying. It was absolutely devastating, she said. Vickers said that sometimes the youngest child would come to her backyard and ask for food. No clean clothes. I'm not exaggerating. It was constant abuse, and it was very, very sad. Gray's maternal grandmother told CNN that it was he was a good kid who lived in an environment that was hostile. His dad beat up on him. I mean, not talking about physical, but screaming and hollering, and he did the same thing to my daughter. Charles Polhama said, adding that the boy did not show any outward anger issues, but was affected by his upbringing. Now investigators seeking to understand the suspect's motive are looking into the family's previous contacts with the state's Child Protective Services Agency, the GBI director said on Wednesday. According to, again, the New York Post, the shooter uttered 3 chilling words when he was confronted by resource officers. I did it. The baby-faced 14-year-old was set to make his first court appearance Friday, being slapped with murder charges, allegedly made the admission while being interrogated in the aftermath of the bloodshed at Appalachia High School in Georgia. Again, charges are pending against the Georgia school shooting suspect's father. Father of the 14-year-old shooting suspect faces 2 counts of second-degree murder in connection with this week's Georgia attack that left 4 dead. The case against Colin Gray, age 54, marks just the second time an American parent has been charged in connection with a mass shooting by a minor, former federal prosecutor Jeffrey Toobin said. The charges included 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter and 8 counts of cruelty to children, with more possible. They are the most severe ever filed against an alleged school shooter's parents. It is now 30 minutes past the hour. Time for the news.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. And right now in Wilson County, TDOT Smartway showing Highway 109 still shut down both directions between Academy Road and Lebanon Road for that double fatality crash investigation. A reminder for drivers this weekend here in Nashville, downtown, the westbound lanes of the East Loop going to be closed starting tonight from 40 to 65 all weekend. That is for resurfacing. Starting tonight, you'll be diverted to the West Loop downtown to get around it starting at 8 o'clock. Another deadly shooting at one of our nation's high schools today. The Hartford County, Maryland sheriff says a 15-year-old student who was shot in what police call an altercation inside a high school boys' bathroom died today. Another student is in custody. And in the Georgia school shooting case, the father of the alleged 14-year-old killer learned he could spend decades in prison for the charges he faces from the judge today.
In the second degree, felony murder in the second degree, the maximum penalty for each count is up to 30 years imprisonment.
Colin Gray allegedly gave his son access to an assault-style weapon as a Christmas gift. And in money news, Daria Albinger says stocks tanked on the latest jobs report.
Well, at least it's over. Stocks plunged on a worrisome job report. The Dow gave up 410 points. The S&P fell 95, down for the fourth day in a row in its worst week of the year. And the Nasdaq closed down 437 points, its worst week since 2022. Tech stocks took the brunt of the drop. Nvidia among the companies pulling the markets lower on worries that its prices soared too high in the boom around artificial intelligence. Now that job report, it was considered by many experts to be the most important one of the year, and it came in weak enough to continue the concerns about the economy. Employers created 142,000 jobs. That was fewer than the 160,000 predicted, but it was far more than the dismal 114,000 added in July. It's exactly the kind of weakness that the Federal Reserve says is necessary to stifle high inflation, and analysts say it could encourage the Fed to cut interest rates when it meets later this month.
That is the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
We're just ahead of the second round of Phone URFARB Friday, so get on the phone lines right now, 615-737-9986. Now, are your retirement assets structured to minimize taxes? Could be hard to believe, but many hardworking Americans just like you could be overpaying on taxes in retirement. You can be taxed on your IRA, your 401k, any other tax-deferred retirement accounts. Beacon Capital Management is here to give you peace of mind. With the threat of massive tax increases just around the corner, your nest egg could be in trouble unless you take advantage of defensive tax-saving strategies now. Defend your hard-earned retirement savings by scheduling a free retirement tax reduction analysis today. No cost, no pressure, no obligation. If you've saved more than $250,000 for retirement, don't wait any longer. Schedule your free retirement tax reduction analysis from Beacon. Just call this number, 615-488-9303, or visit askbeaconnow.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
It is 37 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. And since it's Friday, it's time to do this little thing that we like to call Phone Your Farb Friday. You know how the drill works. 615-737-9986. That's the hotline that gets you right on the air. Maybe you got a bee in your bonnet. Maybe you got a burr in your saddle. Maybe you have a bug in a very unpleasant place. Just step up on our 100,000-watt soapbox and express yourself within limits, because it is a family show. I mean, we are making some changes to Phone Your Farb. Normally, it used to be at 4:35 and 5:35, but now the Three Amigos is at 5:35, so we did it earlier. So this is actually round number 2. Now, we do compare the first round with the second round. And it's not a competition, so no wagering, but we do make our judgments. And I would have to say, I don't know how you feel about it, Chris, but I thought that the first round was pretty strong.
I would agree, yeah.
One of the stronger rounds that we've ever had, I think. Well, it was really good. People were pretty sharp. So, all you 4 o'clock people, you've got your work cut out for you. And I have a couple of empty phone lines right now, and more phone lines will open up after we plow through some of these calls. So, again, 615-737-9986. Here we go. Steve in Cookville, you're on with Brian on the Drive. What's on your mind today, Steve?
Do you foresee Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. being rewarded with positions in the Trump administration?
I think it's possible. I think it is possible. I mean, look, the endorsement of both of those people meant a lot to Donald Trump. In a very, very close election where things like this might be worth a point or two, it could make the difference, actually. So, yes, I mean, I think it's entirely possible. I don't know. I don't agree with RFK's position on everything, but there are, it's, even with people who are Democrats, there are some areas of agreement. You just have to look hard to find them. And so, maybe we can find something where he fits, that it won't conflict with some of the other things that Trump wants to do. We'll see. But I think it's entirely possible. I think both of those people are held in high regard by Donald Trump. Harriet in Lebanon. Hey, Harriet, you're on with Brian on the drive. What's on your mind?
Hey, sir, I'm actually calling maybe that we can get a feather in our cap.
Okay.
I called a month or so ago with an idea that I wanted to figure out how to get the message to Mr. Trump. I'm quite a follower of his. And that was not to tax Social Security. You said that was something that you could get behind. I have since heard him say it, and I wondered if he got the idea from WTN.
I don't know. Wouldn't that be something if we found out that was the case? Yeah.
I thought my suggestion was really just don't tax our Social Security.
Right.
I'm 75, still paying into Social, but I don't think they should tax my Social I'm drawing while I'm still paying in.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I mean, wouldn't it be something if we here on our humble little radio program were the seed that led to that policy? Well, that's something to consider. Thank you so much for the call. Johnny in Cookville. Hello, Johnny. You're on with Brian on the drive. What's up, Johnny?
Hi, yesterday had this
Johnny, I'm having a hard time hearing you, buddy.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, yesterday, right before the 4:30 hour, you had this recording of this Russian woman. It was a story and everything. And to be perfectly honest, I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention to the end of it. And I was taking a drink of Mountain Dew. And then right after that Russian lady, you come across with and kill moose and squirrel. And I absolutely lost it. I had Mountain Dew coming at my nose. I blew it all over the dash. And I called your choice word. Brian Wilson, your choice word. I'm going to kill you. You've got to warn me. So anyway, I thought you might find that funny.
I've always been a big fan of Bullwinkle and Rocky. And anytime I hear somebody with a Russian accent, I always say, "Most kill moose and squirrel." The thing about it is I actually used to have a cameraman who was from Russia in D.C. and Gregory was his name. And I would say to Gregory, we'd go out on a story, we'd be in the news vehicle going out to cover this story or that story, and I'd say, Gregory, would you say for me, "Must kill moose and squirrel"? And he would say it exactly that way. I would just bust out laughing. He had no idea why it was funny. He got really irritated with me, but I'm a big fan of that. I'm glad you got a chuckle out of it. How about Tara in Walter Hill? Hello, you're on with Brian on the drive. Hello, Tara.
Hi, Mr. Brian. Thank you for taking my call. Just was curious, and first-time caller, by the way, just kind of curious about the Georgia shooter. Obviously, it's very sad, a lot of mental problems. But I hear everybody calling him babyface, and just trying to feel like we need to pity him more than the victims, which we haven't even really heard about anything about them or the teachers.
Yeah, I actually, as I was saying that, they said, well, we're making him a sympathetic character. He was apparently tragically abused, and when you're reading in off the New York Post, and that's where those stories came from, that's sort of their style, But really, honestly, we should not. This person is still responsible for the things that happened. But it does sound like this individual had a tragic life, not a good life in any way, from what we're beginning to hear. And apparently, again, I'm reading some stories that suggest people at the school saying this individual was bullied. And I would say, to people within the sound of my voice, especially if you're an educator, if you're picking up on some student who's being routinely bullied, something needs to be done. You need to step in and see if you can stop that, because I can't tell you the number of times you hear that refrain. He was bullied by other people in the school, and just finally one day had enough, and decided to take action. Doesn't justify the action, but still, an intervention in those situations might be something that could prevent violence. And again, it's sad that this young individual had such a difficult life, but still that individual is responsible for the actions and the death of 2 students and 2 math teachers, 1 man and 1 woman. So, that person is undoubtedly going to do time, maybe for life. That's the way it sort of looked like it's shaping up. Got some phone lines open, 615-737-9986. Heather in Nashville. Hello, Heather. You're on with Brian on the Drive.
Hi, Brian. I wanted to talk about the little AI thing where they ask if, what's the reason to vote for Trump and Kamala. And, I've heard everybody discuss it, but I haven't heard anybody say, the whole answer about Kamala starts with she's a black woman who has overcome, obstacles. So even in their own definition, she was a DEI hire. And then, that's the primary reason they give, because she's a black woman who has overcome obstacles. How ridiculous is that?
Well, I'll tell you, that story bothers me a lot, that, there's always, and then if you missed the story, it was about, apparently, if you were to ask, Al Exa, I can't say the name because it will trigger Al Exas all over the area. So if you ask Al Exa, or I'll just call her Al, a little bit about, tell me, why she would make a good president. You get this glowing review from Al. But if you ask, what would make Donald Trump a good president, they wouldn't answer your question. And then they say, well, it was a mistake. We fixed it right away. Why are the mistakes always against us? I don't understand that. It bothers me a great deal. Thank you for the call, Heather. Appreciate it. How about Brian and Lawrenceburg? You're on with Brian on the Drive. What's up, Brian?
Hey, Brian. How you doing?
I'm good.
All right. Real quickly, that trial that Trump had, I think it was around June or July, and they're going to do the sentencing next week. Do you know what the outcome is going to be on that? It's your prediction, and
I think the news today, and maybe Ken Weaver can back me up on this with a bit of information. I think that the Trump sentencing has been pushed back to December. Correct?
It has been pushed back until. Okay, so what the judge said is he's going to decide on presidential immunity a week after the election. And then if he decides not to toss it out, he will then sentence Trump on November 26th.
November, okay. So it'll be after the election, November. Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate it. There's the answer to your question. Shane in Macon County, you're on with Brian on the Drive. Hello, Shane.
Hello, Brian. I just wanted to remark, we're 2 days out now since that school shooting in Georgia. And look at all the information we have about that troubled kid. Yet we're just shy of 2 months since another troubled kid climbed up on a roof in Butler, Pennsylvania, and tried to kill President Trump. And isn't that funny? We have nothing on him. And the same FBI that told big tech that Hunter laptop was Russian disinformation is investigating that. And we should trust what they come up with? I don't think so.
Well, I mean, we do have a lot of information about the shooter in Butler, but it's been mostly done by intrepid reporters who go out into the neighborhood and talk to people who knew the family, who knew the kid, etc. That kind of reporting gets done usually a day or so after. What has been lacking is a great deal of information from the FBI and the Secret Service about all this. They are really hinky about this. I mean, it's almost like the fix is in. They're not going to tell us much, and everything that's come out has not really come out from the FBI or the Secret Service. The big stuff has come out from the local police there in Butler and from the whistleblowers. We're getting a lot more information from the whistleblowers than anybody else. So yeah, it is concerning. Very, very concerning that we don't know more about it. But Secret Service is going to cover its tail, and you would think that the FBI and would see the need to be more transparent about this, but apparently they're not. I agree with you. I'm frustrated by that. Let's see. How about Dean out on the road? Hello, Dean. You're on with Brian on the Drive.
This one isn't so much of a question, but I think it's absolutely ridiculous. These neighbors are calling in or writing into whatever and saying how they saw these kids locked outside of the door, outside of the house, and they didn't have any food and things. What in the hell were they doing? Not calling social services? I think they share a little bit of guilt in all this.
I would have to disagree with you politely, because I believe that the story suggests that social services was there a lot. So somebody was calling social services. Somebody was picking up the phone. But the question I would ask is, well, then, why wasn't something done? That's the bigger question. Social services was at that house. Why wasn't something done to take those kids out of a bad situation? I get very frustrated. We hear, I'll give you another example. We hear all the time, kids are going to school hungry. Why in the hell is that allowed? I mean, why aren't the schools picking up the phone and calling social services and finding out, why aren't you feeding your kids? Because you know what? There's no excuse for not having food. There are food banks. There are ways to get food. There are food stamps. There's a lot of things that can be done to help people. Nobody should be going hungry in America today. And yet we hear all the time that kids are going to school hungry. And I'm very sad by that. I'm very saddened by that. Well, thank you. Good round. 51 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock.
I do everything from scrubbing cages to asking people for donations to answering the phones and helping facilitate getting animals to the rehab. I'm there on the weekends, up there taking care of animals with the team.
You got a great team there. It's a small team, but a great team that works together. And
I started about 20 years ago. My dear friend Carol Burgess founded Harmony in Fairview.
Okay.
And we decided to reopen it in West Nashville. And we are rocking along. Lots of animals. One of the primary calls that we get are, I found a bird, it's on the ground, what do I do? And in most situations, you should let it alone unless there's an imminent danger to that animal, because the parents are helping it and feeding it, and it just needs a couple of scary days on the ground until it gets back up into flight. What about bunnies, Melody? Can we give advice about bunnies?
The bunnies, they're just the sweetest, most innocent creatures, and we just see the worst things happen to them. Cats, dogs, lawnmowers, weed whackers.
In most cases, if the animals aren't injured, if you can put the rabbits back, that's always better to be with the mother rabbit than to come to us.
All the storms that have been coming through and just destroying nests, and a lot of babies will be found on the ground. Re-nesting is possible and preferable.
You play the video calls and you put the baby near where they found it, and the mama will actually come down and pick it up and then bring it back.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that cool?
Nice.
Former President Trump speaks out after landing the endorsement of the largest organization representing law enforcement in the country today. And good news in Wilson County. Well, good and bad news. The good news is they have reopened Highway 109 and between LaGuardo and Highway 70. But that was a double fatality crash investigation that had it shut down for hours this afternoon. We've got the details on the top stories at 5 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, just a reminder that you can join us at Scoreboard Cedar Creek on Tuesday, September 10th as we cover the debate. I'll be there starting at 3 o'clock. I'll be joined along the way by Dan, Chris, and Matt, and we'll be there till the thing is over. So, come on by. Details at 99.7 WTN.com. Hope to see you there. 58 minutes past the hour now.
Five o'clock on the dot this Friday evening. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories and a reminder for drivers this weekend in Nashville. Those westbound lanes of the East Loop downtown going to be closed all weekend long, starting tonight at 8 o'clock. That'll be from 40 to 65 for resurfacing. You'll have to take the West Loop to get around it. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Election 2024, former President Trump speaking in battleground state North Carolina this afternoon after landing the endorsement of the largest organization representing law enforcement in this country, the Fraternal Order of Police.
To all of the law enforcement men and women here today, I respect you so much. I admire you, and as your president, I will always back the blue as I did. I backed the blue more than any other president.
The Fraternal Order of Police made up of more than 373,000 members. The former president made mention of the appeals court ordering RFK Jr.'s name be removed from the ballot in North Carolina today.
And that sounds like a bad thing for him. It's not. It's actually a great thing. He's an incredible team player.
Yeah, Kennedy ended his presidential bid last month and announced he was endorsing Trump. The appeals court ruling there in North Carolina has delayed early voting so the ballots can be correctly printed. Kennedy won an appeal to remove his name in Michigan, too. Meanwhile, in Austin, Texas today, former Wyoming Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney spoke on behalf of her former Republican Vice President father.
Dick Cheney will be voting for Kamala Harris.
An appellate court in New York did not say when it would rule on Trump's legal team's argument today that the defamation ruling in the E. Jean Carroll sexual abuse case be thrown out. The lawyers arguing the judge should not have allowed audio of that Access Hollywood tape or testimony by two other women who claimed they were assaulted. And the hush money judge in New York is going to wait until after the election to decide on presidential immunity. If that case isn't tossed, Judge Juan Merchan says he would sentence Trump on November 26th, 2 days before Thanksgiving. Two high school softball coaches are credited with saving a contractor's life after collapsing while working at the Riverdale High School softball field in Murfreesboro yesterday. Channel 4 says head coach Christy Bingham had the players call 911 while she ran to get the AED, and assistant coach Brad Dees started CPR.
I don't think we even had time to think. But I think that's because we deal with athletes, we deal with schools. I have 5 kids. All of my kids are on my mind all the time when it comes to school shootings you hear about and emergencies.
Dees says after a couple of minutes, the construction worker came back to life, and they tended to him until paramedics arrived, and Channel 4 says the construction worker's expected to make a full recovery. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Good afternoon, everybody. 7 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson. And, before we go too far, Chris, we never did decide who won the various Fone URFARB. So, 335 or the 435?
I'm kind of leaning towards the rookies, the 335 rookies.
Yep.
I think that was a great first go-round.
I agree, and they are the winners of the Fone URFARB Friday. Well, we've got a page turner going here. And usually when you talk about a page turner, it's like you're reading a good book. It's a real page turner, right? Yeah. Well, that's not what we're going to be talking about. We got a situation right now with the looming debate that's going to take place next week. Could be one of the major inflection points of this entire election. There aren't many things that are going to happen that'll rattle the cages and perhaps change people's minds. But when you get a one-on-one debate, it could well do that. And I'm thinking that Kamala Harris goes into this thing as the underdog, and I think she's probably not going to do too well. And I have one little reason that I think that to be true. It's this. Did you hear that? You may not know what that is, but give me a moment and you'll figure it out. This little snippet of sound is so telling. It's about a quarter of a second long, 250 milliseconds long.
Kind of sounds like when you put something in the recycle bin in your computer,
Well, and I'm going to play where that came from. It came from an interview that Kamala Harris did with Univision, radio. And she's conducting an interview on a Spanish Univision network. And listen very closely to how, if you will hear this sound in the midst of this interview.
Who may be on the fence about which way to vote on November 5th.
Listen, I think that it's time to move forward.
Did you hear it right there? Did you hear it right there?
Listen, I think that it's time to move forward and to chart a new way forward. And we need to turn the page on this Trump era.
You know what that sound is? That little sound? It is actually the sound of Kamala Harris turning the page in her briefing book. She's asked a question by the anchor on Univision, and she is scrambling to find the answer in her briefing book. Here it is again.
Listen, I think that it's time to move forward and to chart a new way forward. And we need to turn the page.
Yeah, she's talking about turning the page, literally as she's turning the page of her own briefing book. Why is this such a thing? Why am I so excited about this particular sound? Well, I tell you what it is. I think it is a sign that she is woefully unprepared for this coming debate. Because if she can't handle a few questions, a few softball questions from a Univision radio anchor without having to turn to the answer in her briefing book, how in the hell is she going to be ready for the looming debate next Tuesday with Donald Trump? Again, here it is.
On this Trump era.
Here we go. One more time. This is her answer to the question.
On November 5th.
Listen, I think that it's time to move forward and to chart a new way forward. And we need to turn the page on this Trump era.
Yeah, we need to turn the page on this Trump era as we're turning pages in our briefing book. The problem, that's right, turn the page. That's good. That's good, Chris. I like that. So there you have it. Now, look, if you can't have, take a few questions without having to have your briefing book, how are you going to get through a debate with Donald Trump? She lost everything that she asked for. She'd been saying, well, I want the microphones to be unmuted. I'm not clear why. But that's what she wanted, and ultimately, the deal had already been cut that there would be a debate and that the microphones would be muted, and that was all, I guess, in order to favor Joe Biden when Joe Biden was the nominee. She wanted it different, but they weren't able to work that out. So the debate rules will be the same as they were on CNN, the previous debate with Joe Biden. She will be standing. She will not be seated. She will not have a briefing book handy, and she She wanted to bring notes, and then and she will not have the microphones muted. Trump was asked by Sean Hannity the other day in the big town hall they did a couple of days ago about the debate strategy.
When I had Biden, you and I had the same discussion, and I let him talk. I'm going to let her talk because, you've all seen it. There are those that say that Biden is smarter than she is, okay? And if that's the case, we have a problem. But, debating's an interesting thing. I've been in many debates. I think I probably won because of debating, maybe. We had a lot of debates with the Republicans. Then we had Crooked Hillary. We had a lot of different people we had to debate. And we had some great debates. You do remember the Rosie O'Donnell debate. Remember Rosie? Rosie O'Donnell. She's a real great one. Isn't she a great one? Anyway, but a debate is interesting. You can go in with all the strategy you want, but you have to sort of feel it out as the debate's taking place. I've seen it. You go in there and you have a strategy. Mike Tyson made the statement, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. It's true. It was a brilliant statement. It's a brilliant statement. So I could tell Sean exactly what I'm going to do, but, things change. It depends a lot on ABC. Will they be fair or not? If they're not going to be fair, I'm going to be a little bit different than if they are. I hope they're going to be fair. We're putting a lot of reliance on a network which is known for being extremely hostile to the people in this room and to, I think, 75-80% of the country, if you want to really know the truth.
So there's Trump laying out how he's going to handle the debate. So here is the kerfuffle over muted microphones. This is being reported by CBS News. Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign was unable to sway ABC News, the host of next week's presidential debate, to keep the microphones unmuted for the 90-minute debate against former President Trump. Her campaign agreed to let the microphones remain muted when a candidate isn't speaking, according to the letter it sent to ABC News, ending the back and forth over the rules for the September 10th debate. Vice President Harris, a former prosecutor, will be fundamentally disadvantaged by this format. How? I don't understand that statement, which will serve to shield Donald Trump from direct exchanges with the vice president. We suspect this is the primary reason for the campaign's insistence on muted microphones, said the letter, which was obtained by CBS News. The Harris campaign also told CBS News it was offered assurances as to how any crosstalk might be handled. The microphones might be unmuted if there is significant crosstalk between the candidates. A candidate who constantly interrupts their opponent will be warned by the moderator, and their comments may be relayed to the audience. And if the microphones don't pick up any of the exchanges, there will be a group of reporters who will be in the room who would report anything noteworthy. Notwithstanding our concerns, we understand that Donald Trump is a risk to skip the debate altogether, as he has threatened to do previously if we do not accede to his preferred format. It was already agreed upon. It wasn't his preference. It was already agreed to. We do not want to jeopardize this debate. For this reason, we accept a full list of rules. There's a lot of this is just a bunch of nonsense from campaigns. Look, I mean, you could say you could tell the Harris campaign that the sky's blue, and they will say no, it's green. I mean, it doesn't matter. They're going to find something that they wanted to quibble with, and they wanted to quibble. It seemed to me like the person who was, more at risk of walking away from the debate was not Trump, but Harris. She just doesn't do well in situations where she's not, she doesn't have her notes. She doesn't have her little, like Joe Biden, have her little cheat sheet. And she doesn't like to ask questions on the fly, something that Dana Perino brought up with Ian Sams of the Harris campaign.
Do the American voters not need to hear from her directly. She wants to be the commander-in-chief. We paid attention to her, and you guys didn't like that either. So the interviews.
It's funny.
Go ahead. I'll give you the last
one.
word.
I hear the question, and it's funny because it's like you're acting like she's in the witness protection program. She's been traveling across the battleground.
Well, she sort of is. She sort of is witness protection. They don't. They won't let you get near her.
States talking to thousands of people in packed arenas, arenas that are much more packed than what President Trump is speaking to.
And see, that's just trying to go the other side.
And people are seeing that on the news. They're hearing her
speeches
message.
Are great. But it's different from doing an interview. And also, she hasn't had to explain why she has done the flip-flop on fracking, the Green New Deal, Medicare for all, and now even banning plastic straws.
But Dana, you're Dana, not you, Dana.
Yes,
but
I know Dana versus Dana.
Dana last week on CNN, in a fulsome sit-down interview, asked her questions about all those things. So I just think it's inaccurate to say she's not answering these questions. Okay. She sat down and did a long interview last week to explain her positions on these issues and how her views have developed being the vice president to President Biden, how she's gotten so much done. When you talk about fracking, this is the vice president who cast the tie-breaking vote on the biggest piece of legislation to spur clean energy job growth in American history.
Well, okay, so there you go. I mean, that's the sort of nonsense that's coming out of the Harris campaign stuff these days. Look, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting. And again, here's what I would say. There aren't many things that are likely to rattle the cages. There aren't many things still left out there that could have a real impact on this election. I mean, maybe there'll be some story that breaks or some October surprise. October surprises need to happen a little earlier since early voting begins. Pretty early. You can't have a late October surprise because you may have 60-70% of the vote already in by the time you get to late October with early voting. So you got to, those days of the October surprise are sort of gone. So it would seem to me if you haven't thrown everything you've got at the other side in mid-September, chances are, it's going to be too late. The other thing I would say is that this debate is the one thing out there that's sort of unpredictable. Now, she's not going to put in herself to be in an unpredictable situation. Her campaign is going to be run the way it's been run right now. She's going to do limited interviews. She might take one question from her traveling press corps on occasion, but she's, when she's done that, she hasn't really answered the question. She just sort of avoids answering the question. So, she's going to be, the other day, did you see what she did? She's coming past the press corps that, traveling press corps, travels with her everywhere she goes. They sit in the back of her plane and she, gets out of her sedan and she's got her earphones in, her earbuds. These are the kind that plug into the bottom of the phone, not the kind that are the wireless earbuds. These are the kind that plug into the phone, and it's as if she's acting as if she's having a phone conversation. But if you know anything about how that works, if you got the earbuds plugged in, the microphone is built into the earbuds. She's got the phone to her ear, and she's faking a phone call, is what she's doing. I mean, this is this is the gamesmanship that we're going to see because, quite frankly, she doesn't want to answer questions. They're going to protect her, because, quite frankly, she's not very good in those situations. 20 minutes now past the hour. If you're in the market for a pole barn, you need to talk to the brothers that run Stoltz Co., two guys that can help you out. Exceptional quality, craftsmanship, fair prices. They will build your new pole barn to your specifications with your needs in mind. That is the Stoltz Co. difference. So let me ask you a question. Do you own some land? Something to think about. Are you doing anything with that land? Why don't you build on it and improve your land? Stoltz Co. will build you a high-quality custom structure at a reasonable price. And maybe you want to have a barn dominium built. That's a home. People live in them. They're barns they're houses that look like barns, and they're very cool, very popular right now. You could use it as a place to go on weekends, maybe a place to retire someday. You could have a pole barn that's basically a tool barn or a garage barn or an equestrian space. How about that, all you horsey people? Or an event space. Think about that. How about, building something that gives you a place to go on weekends and hang out and relax? One way or the other, if you're thinking about that, why don't you go to their website, take a look at the things they've done for other people, and then you'll want to give them a call, 615-622-5992. Let me spell this for you. It's STOLTZCO, Stoltzco.com. That's Stoltzco.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Well, the Trump and Harris campaigns are celebrating new endorsements today, and some members of the Fed are dropping hints at what's coming as far as interest rates are concerned in a few weeks. These stories and more at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
We are just now 10 minutes, T-minus 10 minutes away from today's edition of the Three Amigos. So, that's right. Put a marker on it. No, this will be fun. The people are liking the Three Amigos being back together. It's a fan favorite already.
It's the original band.
That's right. The original band back together. All right. I want to talk about Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden, as you know, has pleaded guilty, or I don't know. What is the official? Chris, let me ask you this question. It's a grammar question. Okay. I was asking Ken because Ken knows a thing about grammar.
All right.
He writes news copy all the time. I was always told that there's no such word as pled.
Yeah, it's pleaded.
Pleaded.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, here on the Daily Wire it says Hunter Biden pled guilty, and I keep saying, that's against everything I ever was taught. Yeah. Now, in fact, I would get jumped on if I wrote pled.
Yeah, I have used pled, but it is pleaded.
Yeah, pleaded is the correct one. The correct word.
It is in the dictionary, though, pled.
Really?
Yeah. But see, this is the thing.
Yeah.
I'm getting way off on a tangent, but this bothers me a little bit about the dictionary. Just because a lot of people use it, they will stick it in the dictionary, but it's really not proper.
Yeah.
we put a lot of things in the dictionary that people say, but it's not the way to properly describe the past tense of plead.
Yeah, even this so-called expert here on the internet says pleaded and pled. Both of them are correct, sort of. So it's just kind of
all right. Well,
a
enough
gray
of that.
area there.
This I didn't need to go down this rabbit hole. I promise you. He pleaded guilty to 3 felonies and 6 misdemeanors yesterday. And Jonathan Turley had a thing to say about all of this because initially what he wanted to do was say, "I'm guilty, but not guilty." It's something called an Alford plea. He was trying to get to see if everybody would go along with it. And when they didn't, he had to go ahead and just plead guilty outright. But here's Jonathan Turley.
He wanted to plead guilty without admitting guilt. It was such a vintage Hunter Biden moment. This is how he was raised. He's had this army of enablers around him that have allowed him to evade that type of responsibility. But he was doing it in a case where his guilt was not just established, it was just screaming from the pages. I mean, they knew that if they went into that courtroom, the jury would not take kindly to this argument because those jurors pay their taxes. And having some really wealthy, privileged guy say that I paid him, 6 years late, and it's because I had an addiction, would not likely go over well with that jury. Yeah. For all of this chaos that the Biden legal team has created, from holding that bizarre press conference outside of Congress to the reaction when the first plea deal fell through, to that actual first plea deal, which was so obscene, over the top, that even the prosecutor admitted he had never seen anyone given that type of deal. All of that was because of a sense of entitlement, that he expected that. And in each case, it has led to a spectacular failure through this entire series of events.
He is absolutely correct on everything. I agree with that 1,000%. Again, he doesn't realize, because he's too close to it. Look, here's the thing. He's at the mercy of the court. It's really whatever the judge decides at this point. He chose not to have a trial. He chose to plead guilty. And so it'll be decided a little bit later. I think now this is the one I think is in December.
Yes.
Yeah, this is in December. It'll be decided. And you know what? Jonathan Turley also pointed out something pretty interesting. It's the sweet spot. I mean, President Biden has said that he's not going to hand down a pardon, but this will come down after the election, just before he leaves office, and it's in the perfect spot that if he wanted to do something like that, he might. But we'll at this moment, they've been pretty adamant that they will not commute and they will not give him a pardon. 30 minutes now past the hour.
.5:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and be prepared to detour around road construction this weekend. The East Loop westbound downtown's going to be closed all weekend. That starts tonight. They're going to be doing some resurfacing of some potholes there between 40 and 65. So you'll be diverted to the West Loop downtown starting at 8 o'clock tonight. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Election 2024, the National Fraternal Order of Police is endorsing former President Trump. Here's what he had to say about it today in the battleground state of North Carolina.
To all of the law enforcement men and women here today, I respect you so much. I admire you, and as your president, I will always back the blue as I did. I backed the blue more than any other president.
Meanwhile, a letter obtained by ABC News claims more than 90 corporate leaders, including those of Yelp and Box, have made up their mind.
The letter says with Kamala Harris in the White House, the business community can be confident it will have a president who wants American industries to thrive. Most of the signers are former corporate heads, like Logan Green of Lyft, Blake Irving of GoDaddy, Alan Mulally of Ford, Facebook co-founder Dustin Moskovitz, and NBA Hall of Famer and billionaire businessman Magic Johnson.
As Chuck Stevenson reporting. California Governor Gavin Newsom is saying no to a bill that would have made undocumented immigrants eligible for a state loan program for first-time home buyers. Here's Alex Stone.
It was a bill that drew criticism from Republicans who said California should focus on housing assistance for residents who were in the country legally in a state where the median home price is over $900,000. But supporters of the bill argued it would have improved the quality of life for hardworking families, regardless if they're in the country legally or not. Governor Gavin Newsom, a Democrat, said he had to veto the bill because of limited funding for state housing assistance.
And two Federal Reserve officials adding to indications that there will be an interest rate cut this month, backing a rate cut. President of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, John Williams, also Federal Reserve Governor Christopher Waller, both on the Fed's policy-making committee, which meets on the 17th and 18th of this month. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
You know, one of the things I love about Genesis Diamonds is that they're always bringing in the new and fresh jewelry and diamonds. You're never going to see the same old thing when you go to Genesis. When it comes to diamonds, they're always bringing in fresh cut stones straight from the world's best diamond cutters, every size you can imagine, including the larger, rare diamonds, 3, 5, even 10 carats. Nobody has diamond selection that can come anywhere close. And with designer jewelry, Genesis has partnered with the top designers from New York and Los Angeles, and they are on the cutting edge when it comes to what's in style, what's hot, what's not, what's new, what's different. The stuff you see at Genesis, you will not find at other stores, guaranteed. So it's a constantly evolving, constantly changing inventory. Another reason why Genesis dominates the jewelry scene here and why people drive for hours or more to be able to shop at this amazing store. They've got it all. Huge selection, uncompromising quality, unbeatable value, ironclad warranties, and white glove customer service. Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes as well. 2 locations, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
I do everything from scrubbing cages to asking people for donations to answering the phones and helping facilitate getting animals to the rehab. I'm there on the weekends, up there taking care of animals with the team.
You got a great team there. It's a small team, but a great team that works together. And
Well, I started about 20 years ago. My dear friend Carol Burgess founded Harmony in Fairview.
Okay.
And we decided to reopen it in West Nashville. And we are rocking along. Lots of animals. One of the primary calls that we get are, I found a bird, it's on the ground, what do I do? And in most situations, you should let it alone unless there's an imminent danger to that animal, because the parents are helping it and feeding it, and it just needs a couple of scary days on the ground until it gets back up into flight. What about bunnies, Melody? Can we give advice about bunnies?
Yes, the bunnies, they're just the sweetest, most innocent creatures, and we just see the worst things happen to them. Cats, dogs, lawnmowers, weed whackers.
In most cases, if the animals aren't injured, if you can put the rabbits back, that's always better to be with the mother rabbit than to come to us.
All the storms that have been coming through and just destroying nests, and a lot of babies will be found on the ground. Re-nesting is possible and preferable.
You play the video calls and you put the baby near where they found it, and the mama will actually come down and pick it up and then bring it back.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that cool?
Nice.
There it is. Ha ha! It's time for the Three Amigos. That's right. This is the time that we have set aside for this new smash radio sensation. It's new. It's old. It's the original gang back together again each day at 5:35.
Yes, sir.
And we thank Dan Mandis for relinquishing the title Three Amigos.
Like he had a choice.
Well, since he stole it from us in the first place. Not that I'm bitter at all. All right, so the idea here is we all find sort of a fun story, and we start out with that, and then you never know where it's going to go. You never know. It could also be a personal story, something that's happened that you find amusing. And so I don't want to dominate. So yesterday we let Chris lead. So Ken, why don't you lead today?
Well, I've always thought that sneezing could be dangerous.
Yeah.
I've actually experienced things like that. I had an employee in my newsroom in Arkansas who actually had to take 2 weeks off because he sneezed.
Really?
And threw a rib out of dislocated a rib.
Yeah. Really?
And
that's a hell of a sneeze.
Right. So then I'm looking, for some stories to talk about on our Three Amigos segment, and I found that apparently a pretty important soccer player in England has been ruled out of play because he has been injured by what the coach says a pretty hefty sneeze. Victor Adeboyeho, who plays for the
Adeboyeho.
But anyway, he plays for the Bolton Wanderers in League One, which is the third tier of English soccer. He apparently hurt his back due to the sneeze on Monday. The coach says Victor's been suffering with a nasty back injury, and a sneeze set it off, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Now, they said they've had his back scanned and should have the results very soon, but everyone, remembers the challenge at Charlton, that he was okay at the time, but then he had that pretty hefty sneeze, and apparently the game went south from there.
Wow. Have you ever, felt like you did some damage with? See, I have a theory about sneezing. I don't hold them in.
And
I don't either.
Yeah, doctors say don't do that. Yeah. I'm glad you boys mentioned that because I have a list of things that can happen to you if you do.
Well, you've done your so not only did you find a story, you did additional adding research. That's you get a gold star. Yeah, there you go.
Yes, sir. I'm going home right now. No, but yeah, this is from the ENT and Allergy Associates LLP. They say, number one, it can make your chest hurt. Okay, so big deal. But it could rupture your eardrum.
Wow.
Ugh. There are documented cases where people have ruptured their eardrums by holding in their sneeze.
I can see that happening because if you hold it in, the pressure's trying to escape somehow.
It's got to go somewhere. Could burst a blood vessel. Could cause Yeah,
go ahead. No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yes, it could cause other more serious problems. So holding a sneeze could potentially make you uncomfortable or cause a minor illness or injury. But is anything life-threatening going to happen? There are published reports of forceful sneezes causing aneurysms.
Wow.
Or bulging blood vessels in the brain. And apparently there was a case in 2015 where that happened, and that's according to the Neurological Medicine magazine.
Well, after COVID-19, we were all told that we had to, if we had to cough into our elbow,
right,
and to cough and to sneeze into our elbow. If I'm at the house.
Yeah.
And I need to sneeze. And lately, for some reason, I've been sneezing a lot. I guess there's something in the air. I just let her rip, Tater Chip. I mean, I just let them go. and I make sure I'm not sneezing in anyone's direction.
Sure.
But I mean, I don't hold back. I just feel good when I let them rip like that.
I almost caused a panic in the car the other night. Luckily, I was the one driving. But no one else knew it was coming, and I just let her rip, and everybody's like, oh, what's going on?
Well, it feels good to sneeze. I mean, it's like scratching an itch. So
yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. But, that's not the first athlete I've heard of that did that. I remember I looked it up, in 2004, the Chicago Cubs' Sammy Sosa. Everybody remembers him, right? Big
Sammy
slugger.
Sosa.
He sprained a ligament in his lower back from sneezing.
Yeah.
He was out for like 2 weeks.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Yeah, don't hold in those sneezes, but be careful at the same time. Do some stretching.
Let them rip. Let them go.
Yes.
And I don't think the sneeze into the elbow. I mean, you're just if you put your nose right in your elbow, then you're going to blow your brains out, aren't you? I mean, when you sneeze.
Otherwise, you're just deflecting it, and it's just scattering everywhere.
Just like whenever Bugs Bunny plugs Yosemite Sam's shotgun.
Yeah.
That's right.
Blows up in his face.
All right, Chris, you go next.
All right, so we talked a little bit about this. You made mention of your Christmas decorations and the extremes that are gone to in your household. So I found a story about a woman who's a little Christmas crazy. And believe it or not, her husband decided to get in on the action. And so, instead of me describing it, let's just bring her in and let her describe what's going on here with this Christmas situation.
So, yes, my husband decided that he'd add to my Christmas tree collection. Can you believe that? He thought that he could actually
hold it.
27.5-foot blow-up Christmas tree to my collection. Why would he do that?
She sounds familiar.
Do that.
This voice sounds very familiar to me.
I think this is a Middle Tennessee story.
Yeah, I don't know. That woman sounds completely unreliable. I wouldn't trust a thing that woman said.
Yes, Brian Wilson. You're being called out.
Live. She's live. Oh, my goodness. You've set a dangerous precedent here, Chris.
Oh, shoot.
All right.
Yeah.
Immediately disconnect
Brian.
that phone. I don't have
Immediately disconnect.
Turn her
Do you
off.
hear how he's talking to you?
Remember, you have to walk down the sidewalk to get back in the house.
So very quickly, while you're here, tell everybody about the purple jersey mission we went on today.
Well, it was simple. I just thought it'd be cool to honor Watertown since you moved us out to Watertown, and their color's purple. And I thought, oh gosh, Brian has this little thing going on with a 12-foot skeleton he put in our front yard last year. So why don't we put a purple jersey on him, because it's during football season. Because we had a few kids stop by and take their photos with the skeleton. So I thought it might get more of the kids to come down and take a photo with, a
with
jersey
a purple
on it.
jersey, a big football jersey.
Purple jersey.
I will say I purchased it. Because she just put that bill right. I mean, her idea, you think she'd pay for it, but no.
It's your skeleton, though, isn't it?
It
is your skeleton.
It's ours.
It's like the naked statues, Brian. You can't have naked statues. They all have clothes on them right now.
All right.
All right. Clothes on them.
All right, please disconnect the phone right away. I mean, this is enough. This is a very dangerous precedent, and I think it's against company policy, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Just all right. Click.
No,
click.
I'm just part of it.
Click.
You have a great show, Brian.
See you for dinner, honey.
Oh, yeah, you're not getting any dinner.
Yeah.
You better have a taster.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, my goodness. Don't ever do that again, Chris. You're only going to encourage her with that.
I was going to say, Brother Chris, one step in this, man, having some audio with it.
I thought he had a real
clip.
audio.
Yeah.
I was completely into the story, and then I realized, I'm about to get hammered here.
Yeah.
I have a story.
All right.
When my daughter was younger, I used to watch some of the Disney shows just because at the time that was okay to do. And I became a fan of the young Selena Gomez.
Oh,
she
yes.
was on one of those shows, and she was cute and she was funny, and I thought, well, this is pretty. But this is a pretty sharp kid. Turns out, we had a story not long ago that said that Tay-Tay had become a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Taylor Swift had become a billionaire. B with a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? So is Selena Gomez.
Really?
No kidding.
And aren't they like best friends?
Yeah, they're best buds. The 32-year-old she's 32 now. She's an actress. She's on this show, Only Murders in the Building,
Yes.
which I like. But of the three of them, of Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez, I think Selena Gomez has the higher net worth.
I would have to agree, man.
She's worth about $1.3 billion. It comes from some of her television work, some of her earlier work, her investments over time, but the vast bulk of her wealth is tied to Rare Beauty, which is her 5-year-old makeup line that apparently all the tweeners love, and then they're the tweeners. They're
tweener.
The people who are between being children and teenagers. They're tweeners.
Oh.
It's based, it's an estimated value by Bloomberg. She has 424 million followers on Instagram.
Goodness.
Which makes her, believe it or not, she has more followers than does Taylor Swift.
Interesting.
Yeah, how about that? I didn't know this. She's number 3. Number 1 is soccer star Cristiano Ronaldo. Number 2 is Lionel Messi, who has 504 million. And number 3 is Selena Gomez with 424 million followers.
No idea.
On Instagram.
I had no idea, man. I knew I loved her to death, but I didn't know that many people loved her to death. I mean, I like her acting.
She has some not mental problems, some health problems.
Yeah.
And she's been diagnosed with bipolar disease, but she is doing quite well. She's bringing in the green bucks in a big way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, Steve Martin. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, what is Steve Martin worth?
He's worth 140 mil.
That's all? Wow.
Yeah. Marty Short's only worth 30 mil.
How about that?
Yeah, he spent most of his probably.
Yeah.
Well, she gets $6 million a season for Only Murders in the Building.
Wow.
She's one of the executive producers. Martin, I guess they all get $6 million.
Yeah.
Well, Martin may get more because I think he writes and was the sort of the person who came up with the idea of Only Murders in the Building.
Great show.
And it is funny. And I'm the new season just started, and I'm looking forward to September 19th, I think it is, because Steve Martin and Martin Short are coming to town, and I'm going to go see that show.
Ah, cool, man.
That should be
really fun.
That'll be a day that I'll call in. I won't be there.
I don't know if we'll let you on the phone.
There aren't many days. There aren't many days between now and the election that I'm taking off, but I'm taking off for that one.
We should have whispered this, boys.
That's right. All right. Yeah. Well, no, I've already told the boss. They don't know what it's for, but they've already granted me this one day off. And at that note, and again, Chris, this can never happen again. 50 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock. You know a guy, you work with him, you think you can trust him, But then he pulls a stunt like that. All right. You know, there are a lot of diagnoses out there and a pill for everything, but not all diagnoses are accurate. Not all pills are good for you. When you get a diagnosis for European auto repair, you should get a second opinion before you make a major decision. And Eurofix is the home of second opinions. Before you spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars on European vehicle repair, you should go to Eurofix. It could save you a lot of money, could also save your vehicle's life. At Eurofix, you get a free 15-minute no-wrench inspection and an estimate at every visit. No high-pressure sales tactics. And at Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. At Eurofix, you never pay dealer prices. Now located in 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and their newest location, Mount Juliet. Call 844-EUROFIX or visit myEurofix.com and tell them your friend and radio buddy Brian Wilson sent you.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
6 o'clock on the dot this Friday evening. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. And a reminder, this weekend in Nashville, the westbound lanes of the East Loop downtown going to be closed all weekend long, starting in just about 2 hours. That'll be from 40 to 65 for some resurfacing. You'll be diverted over to the West Loop. Got the full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Election 2024, former President Trump speaking in the battleground state, North Carolina, after landing the endorsement of the largest organization representing law enforcement in the country, the Fraternal Order of Police.
To all of the law enforcement men and women here today, I respect you so much. I admire you. And as your president, I will always back the blue as I did. I back the blue more than any other president.
Now, the FOP made up of more than 373,000 members. As for the other side of the ticket,
former Republican Vice President Dick Cheney will be voting for Vice President Kamala Harris over former President Donald Trump. That's according to his daughter, Liz Cheney, a former Republican lawmaker who this week said she would be voting for Harris. Liz Cheney spoke to The Atlantic's Mark Leibovich at the Texas Tribune Festival.
My dad believes, and he's said publicly, that there's never been an individual in our country who is as grave a threat to our democracy as Donald Trump is.
Boeing's troubled Starliner capsule is now headed back to Earth with no astronauts on board because of problems with it. Here's Alex Stone.
Separation confirmed.
With a gentle glide, it was the moment Boeing and NASA did not want. Starliner floating away from the International Space Station, heading home empty with no astronauts on board.
Starliner is now backing away from station.
Over China, the separation occurred heading home after thruster problems on launch in June created worries. Now the two astronauts it launched will have to come home next year on a SpaceX Dragon capsule. The trip home to New Mexico will take Starliner about 6 hours.
And word today that Brazilian bossa nova king Sergio Mendes has died. The family released a statement confirming his death, saying he died from the effects of long COVID and was surrounded by family. Here's Michelle Franzen.
Brazilian musician Sergio Mendes helped introduce and expand the sounds of bossa nova worldwide with his most famous song, Mas Que Nada. His career spanned decades, and later the Grammy Award-winning artist's song and music would be introduced to a whole new generation with a remake performed by the Black Eyed Peas and collaborations with Justin Timberlake and Stevie Wonder. Mendes also did the soundtrack for the movie Pele, about the soccer legend's life. Sergio Mendes was 83.
And that's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Hey, good evening, everybody. It is 6:06 on this Friday, September 6th. I'm Brian Wilson in the chair for about, another 54 minutes and change, 53 minutes and change, as we will take you all the way up to the news at 7 o'clock. And after the 7 o'clock news, it's Mark Levin. Mark Levin will carry on this Friday evening. We have a very pleasant day on tap. It didn't hit 90, about 86 degrees still in the greater metro area, and so you can go out. It'd be a perfect evening to sit out on the cabana and have an adult beverage.
Ooh, that it would.
Well, it'd be perfect.
This weekend would be perfect for lots of beverage time.
Yeah,
outdoors.
I haven't looked. Is the weather supposed to be pretty nice?
Oh yeah, just gorgeous, sunny, mid-70s for highs. All weekend.
I don't have much plan. We're having some folks over for dinner tomorrow night, and then but I'm going to the TFA event tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee Firearms Association has a big annual event, and our friend Pete Hegseth is going to be the guest speaker. So I'm going to do that tomorrow, but I don't have a lot of other plans. So it's just sort of, I know when I don't have a lot of plans, it's never a problem at my house, because somebody will come up with something for me to do.
You can count on it.
The ability to just sit on one's butt is not something that's allowed at our house very much. All right, so I want to talk about some economic news. August payrolls grew by less than expected to 142,000. That was bad news. And the markets, by the way, did not like this information. The Dow Jones Industrials fell today 410 points. That's about 1%. It's not been a very good week on the major indices. It's been a lot of red. It's one of the worst weeks since 2022. For example, the NASDAQ. The S&P was down about 1.75%, down 94 points, and the NASDAQ was down 436, which is 2.5%. And again, for the NASDAQ, the worst week since a week that occurred in 2022. So the markets did not like this news. Now, as you know, with economic news, and I'm not the greatest expert on economic news, but as I understand it, this bad news could have a silver lining. And the silver lining is job creation is weak. The job situation is weaker than expected. They by the way, they did another downward revision for earlier months. So, I mean, it's really a lot weaker than anticipated. And while that is not particularly good news if you're looking to find a job, it is good news if you're looking for interest rates to come down. So now the question is, what will the Fed do? Will the Fed, cut by a half point? Will they cut by a quarter point? Will they go all the way to a full point? Look, there's a lot going on here, and don't underestimate the importance of politics in all of this. It would be great for Kamala Harris if the Biden administration could say that, we had a soft landing and now we're cutting interest rates by a full percentage point, and that's going to happen in September, and it would happen before the election, so that would be a positive thing. There for a while, it looked like it wasn't going to happen until after the election, but now, these numbers. And the other thing that I worry about, though, are these numbers being manipulated in order to get the outcome that they desire? Everybody said, I used to ask this question all the time in Washington. I did not believe the numbers at times. It just didn't feel like it comported with other evidence, anecdotal evidence. But people assured me, no, they're these numbers, you can go to the bank on them. They're very reliable. I never really believed it, but one way or the other, you have to wonder, is there politics involved in this? In other words, these shabby numbers you might think might not be good news for the Biden administration. You say there aren't as many jobs being made, but probably the bigger thing for most people would be, hey, interest rates are finally coming down. That would be a huge thing. Again, it seems more and more likely now that there will be a rate cut in September. I think the open question is, how big will that be? Quarter, half? Will they go even further? It would be interesting to see. We'll have another inflation report next week, and so that will be perhaps the final bit of data before we get into October. Red Lobster. Red Lobster apparently got into big trouble for having unlimited shrimp. I mean, it's hard to believe that this one promotion put them under, but that's what you read. On Thursday, Red Lobster announced its upcoming acquisition to an entity known as RL Investor Holdings, was approved by the bankruptcy judge amid the restaurant chain's financial woes. It's a great day for Red Lobster, a great day for old people who like to eat early. Because, I mean, that's where the old people go to eat early.
Got to get those early bird specials, man. That's
right. Go to Red Lobster for the early bird specials. Damola Adamo Lacune will succeed Jonathan Tybus as CEO of Red Lobster when the sale is complete. With our new backers, we have a comprehensive and long-term investment plan, including a commitment of more than $60 million in new funding that will help reinvigorate the iconic brand while keeping the best of its history. It initially announced plans to file for Chapter 11 in May after years of financial hurdles that included rising labor costs and all-you-can-eat promotions that backfired. Apparently that all-you-can-eat shrimp was a hell of a thing for the corporation. This restructuring is the best path forward for Red Lobster. It allows us to address several financial and operational challenges and emerge stronger and refocused on our growth. The chain has since closed over 100 locations. 23 closed in August. I don't think that any of the Nashville area Red Lobsters were impacted by that, but there were some in the state. I think memory serves me correct, it was Knoxville. Now, after the judge's approval, Red Lobster's sale to RL Investor Holdings, which is backed by the Fortress Investment Group, soon-to-be CEO Adamo Lacune, is touting a tremendous future for the restaurant chain, which will continue to operate as an independent company. What does that mean for existing and future restaurants? It's unclear. Red Lobster said it expects to operate about 544 locations across the U.S. and Canada upon emerging from bankruptcy. That's down from 578, but up from approximately 530 when that was at one time listed on their website. I'm trying to figure out. Known for its affordable seafood, apparently too affordable, and cheddary biscuits. I'd have to say, those cheddar biscuits, oh, they're good.
They're all right.
No, they're good. They're flat good. I'll have to say, I like them a lot. The brand was founded back in 1968 by Bill Darden, who sold Red Lobster to General Mills in 1970. General Mills went on to form Darden Restaurants, which owns Olive Gardens and other chains. Darden Restaurants was spun off from General Mills in 1995. Darden Restaurants later sold Red Lobster to a private equity firm, the Thai Union Group, one of the world's largest seafood suppliers. First invested in Red Lobster in 2016, upped its stake in 2020, but then apparently they had an all-you-can-eat shrimp deal that went south.
I mean, I could have predicted this. Have you ever been to a buffet that had crab legs and seen the way people act when they bring out the crab legs?
Oh, it's like they're insane.
It's like they're just ravenous. So it doesn't surprise me that the endless shrimp backfired on Red Lobster.
Well, I mean, the all-you-can-eat shrimp is okay if you price it right.
Obviously, they did not.
I used to have a friend named Doug. Doug and I would try to go to all-you-can-eat buffets and just put them out of business.
They'd put up your picture at the door. Do not let this person back in. Do not let this
guy in. I mean, we would do our best to put him out of business. Our job was, you're going to regret this. But I don't eat as much anymore. Foreign automaker layoffs thousands of Michigan workers after pocketing hundreds of millions in Biden EV subsidies. This is sort of irritates me. It really does. Multinational automaker prepared to lay off more than 2,000 American workers, writes the National Review, after benefiting handsomely from the Biden administration's subsidies for electric vehicle production. We're talking about Stellantis. And a lot of people say, Stellantis, what's that? Well, it's, I guess you would say it's probably the follow-on to Dodge, Plymouth, all of that.
It's the company that owns them now.
Yeah. They have the brands of Ram, Dodge Ram, what used to be Dodge Ram. It's now Stellantis Ram, I guess, and Jeep, the very popular Jeep.
Don't forget Fiat.
And Fiat, right. Been awarded hundreds of millions of dollars in grants from the federal government to promote its EV manufacturing. They gave them hundreds of millions in grants and say, we want you to build EVs. But the Biden administration's largesse has not prevented the company from laying off American workers. In July, the Department of Energy awarded Stellantis subsidiary Chrysler a $334.8 million grant to convert a shuttered Illinois plant into a facility for building EVs, and another $250 million grant to do other things. Well, if you're going to do those other things, why can't you protect the 2,000 workers? The problem is, the government should not get into the business of picking winners and losers. They're horrible at it. They're just no good at it. This is all part of, we want to have everybody driving an EV. We want to have, and they tried to shove EVs down everybody's throats. And finally, it finally took a while, but no telling how many billions of dollars Ford has lost. No telling how many billions of dollars GM is lost in trying to develop. Because, the real expense in changing something like this is the research and development, at the cost of research and development and building the first models. And then you spend billions and billions and billions of dollars. This is a sea change. You're going from the internal combustion engine to an electric based format, and you've got to do a lot of engineering, and it takes a lot of money to put out those first models. And then you find out we can't sell the damn things. Nobody wants them. People have decided, by and large, that's not to say exclusively, there's some people, electric cars work. And it works for them, and I know people who have electric cars, and they love them, and okay, good and fine. But for a lot of Americans, really an electric car is just not a very reasonable thing. It doesn't work for them. What seems to be a better bridge is the hybrid. Hybrid, the thing about a hybrid is it's mostly electric, but when you run out of electricity, you're not going to be stranded because, you can then use a small amount of gasoline to run a small generator that recharges the battery and lets you keep going down the highway. And even so, even though you're using a small amount of gasoline, the mileage is phenomenal. You're up in the 50s, 54 miles to the gallon, because you're running a very small generator and still powering the car with electricity from that generator. So, that seems to be the bridge. But, Biden had it in his mind, all electric, that's the way to go. We want all electric. We want to do away with all fossil fuels, even the small amount that are used by hybrids. Yeah. Again, this thing, it's just a phrase that I come back to time and time and time again. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. So in the mind of the Biden administration, perfect was no fossil fuels. We don't want any fossil fuels. We want all electric cars. They haven't figured out how they're going to charge all those batteries. We don't have the grid for it. Trucking companies, they wanted trucking companies to go and do this, and then when we found out that a trucking company needs enough electricity to charge the big trucks. Well, you could provide electricity for a pretty good sized city with what it takes to charge up those big trucks in one night. So, we never really thought it beyond the end of our nose. It sounds good. We want to feel good. We don't want to burn fossil fuels. We want all electric, but you never really stop to think about how you're going to make that happen. Huge mistake. And now, again, the government's giving your hard-earned taxpayer dollars to Stellantis to build EV plants when there is no demand for EV vehicles to that degree. But then the good news is, if you want an electric vehicle, you can get a pretty good deal on them right now. They got them all. They're down at the lot. They're cut drastically. They're taking a huge loss on every vehicle that they make. A sizable loss. But, for you, if you want an electric vehicle, You can get one pretty cheap right now. 21 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock. Let the team at Restoration Wellness help you achieve your summer goals or your weight loss goals, really. Restoration Wellness is a leader in weight loss management in Wilson County. Call the Restoration Wellness team today at 615-470-8124 or visit them at their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com, to book a consultation today. Now, you're going to meet my friends Carly and Jamie. I was there today, by the way, getting my weigh-in. Still doing great. Still losing weight. But my friends Carly and Jamie will take good care of you just like they take good care of me. They'll treat you like you're part of the family. Be part of the 1,000 patients who've already seen life-changing results from the weight loss management program at Restoration Wellness Med Spa. Weight loss can increase your energy levels, improve your quality of sleep, enhance your overall health. These are customized treatment plans, not one size fits all. Restoration Wellness considers your unique needs, your lifestyle, and your goals. Whether your goal is to lose stubborn body fat or improve your overall health in other ways, Restoration Wellness has a solution for you. Find out about the newest techniques in weight loss management and all the other things they do by going to their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
All right, thank you, Ken Weaver. It is 26 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. We are winding down the week. Hope you have a good weekend planned with family. If you're not home yet, hang on. We'll keep pumping information your direction so that you'll have something to talk with the fam about over dinner. Maybe as you sit on the cabana at the end of a long work week with your wife and have an adult beverage, you'll have some little interesting bon mot.
Some what now?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a word I heard. Some little story you can tell that
Sounds
you learned?
French.
It is. It's very French. Like French fries. Here we go. Chuck Grassley. Listen to this. Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa, has dropped FBI records on an Iranian-backed assassination plots against Trump, Biden, and Haley. The report reveals that Iran was targeting U.S. politicians, military people, or bureaucrats, and is believed it was connected to Soleimani's death. Asif Merchant, a native Pakistani with ties to Iran, has been arrested in an alleged plot to assassinate Trump. Republican Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley on Thursday, this was late yesterday, released FBI records from a whistleblower on the alleged Iranian-backed assassination plots against President Joe Biden, former President Trump, and Nikki Haley. The assassination plots were allegedly in retaliation for the death of Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps officer Qasem Soleimani, who was killed by the United States during the Trump presidency in 2020. This is the one, I think, where Trump said he died like a dog. You remember when he walked out from the Situation Room? The reports revealed that Iran was targeting U.S. politicians, military people, or bureaucrats that it believed was connected to Soleimani's death. Asif Merchant, a native Pakistani with ties to Iran, has been arrested. Bad actors are determined to wreak havoc on our country, and American political leaders across both parties are sitting squarely in the crosshairs, Grassley said in a statement reported by Fox News. In this extraordinarily heightened threat environment, federal agencies ought to be laser focused on building up public trust and reassuring the American people of their efforts to carry out their protective missions. Merchant told the FBI he believed he would receive $50,000 for fatally shooting Trump. He claimed that he could shoot Trump in both indoor and outdoor settings, and he believed he had a 50% chance of success. He communicated with Iran through notes that were smuggled in packages for extended family members. Iran has denied reports of an Iranian plot to kill Trump, claiming the former president should be tried in court for ordering the assassination of Soleimani, but not assassinated. Right. You know, the thing I'm concerned about, I mean, you know, this kind of stuff, you know, Iran, they hate the United States. We're the great Satan, right? Yeah, we hate the United States. They fund all of the actions of the Iranian-backed proxies that have attacked Iran, that have attacked U.S. forces in the region. They are a bad actor in the world. And we just didn't have that kind of problem with them when Trump was president. It's, Biden comes along and he wants to try to, to engage with Iran and they, release a lot of money that Iran's been wanting released for some time now. As Trump says, and he says it and he's correct about it, when Trump was president, Iran was broke. And now that Biden has come into office, they're not broke anymore. And as soon as they get money, what do they start doing? They start wreaking havoc in the region, going and funding the attacks against Israel. They fund attacks. You got the Hamas, you got the Hezbollah, you got the Houthi rebels. They're all funded by Iran, and in funding those organizations, they are creating havoc. And then on the other side of it is, we've got an open border right now. If you're Iran and you hate America with every fiber of your being, would you not be trying to take advantage of the open border to get your people in here to cause more mayhem? Who knows who's in this country from Iran? Do you know? No, I don't know. You don't know, and neither does the federal government, and that's just my point. Neither does the Biden administration. It's entirely possible that you could come and see. It's easy to get into this country without having any contact with law enforcement. The coyotes have it down to a fine art, and they can get you in here, and they don't care where the money comes from as long as the money comes. They'll get you across. They don't look too closely at what you might be trying to accomplish by coming to America. When you hear Christopher Wray say that the lights are blinking red and the terrorist threats are everywhere, I think this is what he's talking about. And I hope that the FBI is on top of this, but they wouldn't have to be on top of it if the borders weren't open. 31 past the hour. It is 38 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock, and that means we got 22 minutes to go before we wrap it up here for the week and head into the weekend. But we've got some more stuff to share with you. We're not done yet. We're not finished as yet. So let me talk about this. Biden, remember Biden's his big accomplishment was the so-called Inflation Reduction Act, which I think we can all agree is the most misnamed piece of legislation to ever come down the pike, because it didn't reduce inflation. It did everything in the world to increase inflation. It really is responsible for the 9.1% inflation that we saw. But now, as Joe Biden, he's not got much to live for. He just comes in, apparently. I read a story that said he has taken more vacations than most Americans will ever take in their lifetime. I mean, most Americans get 2 weeks. Some people get more, but 2 weeks is what most Americans get. And he's done 48 weeks of vacation since he's been president. 48 weeks, one way or the other. He is now, I guess, trying to think about burnishing his reputation and his legacy. That's all that really matters to him right now. And he talks about the Inflation Reduction Act, which he says, really, honestly, he now admits for the very first time in this soundbite that it was all a scam. It was never about inflation reduction.
My investments, through my investments, the most significant climate change law ever. And by the way, it is a $369 billion bill. It's called we should have named it what it was, but at any rate.
So he was talking about the Inflation Reduction Act, which he now says, more accurately, it was a climate change bill. And we should have called it that. He's admitting that they were lying to us all this time about what the purpose of that bill really was. I know you're shocked, stunned, and amazed, aren't you? J.D. Vance has been catching a bunch of crap, and it's not fair. It's not fair at all. After the shooting in Georgia, he was accused of saying, well, this is just a fact of life. We'll just have to deal with it. And that's not exactly what he said. Those words come out of his mind. It's sort of a fact of life today, but that's not all he said. There was stuff before it, and there was stuff after it. And when you hear the entire soundbite, you know exactly what he meant.
I don't like this. I don't like to admit this. I don't like that this is a fact of life. But if you are a psycho and you want to make headlines, you realize that our schools are soft targets. And we have got to bolster security at our schools.
Well, I think most Americans would agree with that. But the headline in some of the stories that are written about this, J.D. Vance says school shootings are a fact of life. Now, that's not inaccurate. I'm going to play it one more time for you so you can hear it.
I don't like this. I don't like to admit this. I don't like that this is a fact of life. But if you are a psycho and you want to make headlines, you realize that our schools are soft targets. And we have got to bolster security at our schools.
All right. Well, I think most Americans would not agree with the way that was edited, just to make it sound like something like, oh, well, it happens. That's not what he was trying to say at all. There's been yet another, according to the story in townhall.com, another damning revelation about Secret Service priorities. This one, folks, is going to make you mad. You ready? On Tuesday, Senator Josh Hawley, Republican Missouri, shared with Fox News' Jesse Waters some rather damning revelations from a whistleblower about the lack of training for agents assigned to the July 13th Butler rally where Donald Trump was nearly assassinated. The agents with Homeland Security Investigations received a 2-hour webinar. We told this story, and one that experienced audio issues. Hawley has since posted his outrage about an update that highlights the hypocrisy about the U.S. Secret Service priorities. Are you ready? In a detail that he referred to as beyond outrageous, the senator on Wednesday shared that the United States Secret Service Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion sent out an agency-wide request for nominees to attend the Out and Equal Workplace Summit at Walt Disney World in Orlando next month. The summit is an all-expense-paid trip. the Out and Equal Workplace Summit to be held at Walt Disney World in Orlando next month. An all-expense-paid trip. Agents assigned to Trump and Butler were only given online Zoom training, Hawley again reminded. The details about this come from Real Clear Politics' Susan Crabtree, who has previously reported on revelations about the United States Secret Service, and his work has been cited by Hawley in letters to United Secret Service Acting Director Ronald Rao. The call for nominees to attend the conference, which includes leadership plenary sessions, a night out at Disney Studios, and a gala event the final night, is rankling many rank-and-file special agents and uniformed division officers, Crabtree pointed out. Her post also speaks to the point that is obvious, especially to rank-and-file agents, but apparently isn't obvious to those at top. Many special agents and uniformed division officers say the call for nominees for the LGBTQ plus conference at the height of a campaign season is tone deaf when resources are stretched so thin, especially in the wake of the July 13th assassination attempt against President Trump that killed Corey Comparatori. I would like to know, with the operational tempo we're under, how they think this is an appropriate use of manpower, one source in the Secret Service community asked. And while the United States Secret Service apparently has enough to prioritize paying the people for going to this pro-LGBTQ plus summit, agents cannot even earn overtime pay. A large number of Secret Service employees are working so hard, many 7-day work week with no time off, that they've already hit their supermax limit for overtime pay, meaning they can no longer receive overtime for their work. One special agent characterized that phenomenon as essentially working for free. Questions about training still remain. As I reported last week, rank-and-file Secret Service special agents are wondering if the DOD and the DHS personnel they are being provided will be adequately trained in protective duties. Secret Service has used Army and Navy explosive ordnance disposal officers for many years, but USSS special agents want to know how these additional DOD and DHS personnel providing supplemental support this year will be trained, Crabtree noted with original emphasis. So they're going to send a bunch of people from the Secret Service to Disney World for an LGBTQ plus conference. And what have I been saying, Chris? I've been saying all along. I think when the story is told, you're going to find that there is a DEI component to why the Secret Service is no longer the institution that we all remember. It is no longer the institution that had the reputation of being 10 foot tall and bulletproof. And they are shorthanded. They are, I think, using DEI initiatives to try to promote people who aren't ready or are really qualified for the jobs at hand. In their desire for equity, they are, I think, screwing up a lot of good agencies in the federal government. The FBI, I think, may be going through this as well. I think the Secret Service is going through this as well. This ought not be the focus. Do they not understand? Prioritize your mission. What is your mission? Is your mission to protect the people that have been chosen, like the protectees, the people who are in these high governmental positions? Then anything else that gets in the way of that ought to fall by the wayside. And I have a feeling that a lot of people are leaving the Secret Service, leaving them a bit shorthanded, because they are fed up with the things that they have seen coming down the pike during the Biden years. Ultimately, look, there were mistakes made there, but as we get deeper and deeper into this, if they are brutally honest with themselves, if indeed we get the real truth out of this matter, I think what you're going to find is that there is a DEI component to why the Secret Service is no longer the premier protective agency in the world. I think you're going to find that.
But they took an online course.
Yeah, it was an online course, and anybody, a 2-hour online Zoom call with apparently bad audio.
Hello. So you want to be a Secret Service agent? We're going to teach you all you need to know in this quick 15-minute course.
I know. It's ridiculous. Well, it's a 2-hour course. Pardon me. Hour course. House panel investigating Trump shooting presses local law enforcement for transcribed interviews. The real information that we're getting about what happened in Butler is coming from the Butler local police, the state police, and from whistleblowers. We are not getting a great deal of information from the Secret Service. We're not getting a great deal of information from the FBI. The FBI will tell you, it's not our job to find out what went wrong with the Secret Service. Our investigation is to investigate the crime, the assassination attempt itself. Well, there's not much to investigate there because, well, as we know, the shooter is dead. So I don't think we're going to, so I guess what we're really expecting is that the Secret Service is going to investigate itself. Yeah, how's that going to work out? The requests were made of the coroners of Butler County and Allegheny County seeking access to the coroner's report and the autopsy of Thomas Matthew Crooks. The letters come weeks after the task force visited the rally site on August 26th and made an extensive records request to the Department of Homeland Security and to the Secret Service. Those letters requested access to documents detailing the preparation and security decision-making in the hours leading up to the rally and agents' responses once the shooting began. Lawmakers are pushing for interviews with several Secret Service personnel who were on duty and responsible for the security detail that day. I have a feeling that some of the whistleblowers are coming from the Pittsburgh area FBI office who have been put on leave. I think they're not going down without a fight. They want to know, everybody know exactly what was going on. 50 minutes now past the hour.